Welcome back to another episode of Just a Tip, the podcast where we talk about the shit that everyone's thinking but no one is saying. This week, we're sitting down with David Foulquier, the mastermind behind some of New York and Miami's most talked about restaurants. 11th Street Pizza, Chez Fifi, Sushi Noz, with the anticipated Fooq's on the way in Little River. A French-Persian New Yorker turned Miami operator, David's built a great reputation for blending obsession, precision, and risk-taking into every concept he touches. In this episode, we talk about why greatness is a core competency, how Miami went from a party town to a legit culinary capital, and what it really takes to build a restaurant that lasts. From Michelin-level sushi to neighborhood pizza, David opens up about the reality of scaling multiple concepts, how to trust your team when you can't be everywhere at once, and why adapting to what the community wants will always beat chasing the trends. If you've ever wondered how to keep your restaurants relevant while the city around you keeps evolving, this one's for you. It's Just a Tip with David Foulquier. Let's get into it. This episode of Just a Tip is brought to you by Rooftop Solutions. So the craziest thing happened. You might have even seen it in the news. A restaurant in Wynwood had to shut down for years after a leaky roof caved in. Imagine all that money, time, momentum gone just because the roof wasn't handled right. And that's why I always recommend Rooftop Solutions. They've been protecting homes and businesses all over Miami-Dade and Broward for over 20 years. They're local, based in Hialeah, and they take pride doing the job with honesty and craftsmanship so your roof stands the test of time. And here's the deal. If you got a leak, they will patch it for free while prepping your roof to be replaced. So unless you want to add a lazy river in your dining room, call Rooftop Solutions, tell them Felix sent you. So I am super honored today on Just a Tip to have a very special guest. This guy is a super trend-setting restaurateur, groundbreaking concepts, really a pillar of the community. I mean, he's done things that I have only read about. And, you know, usually when I get or hear of restaurateurs like this, I'm like, 6 months, he'll be closed. But this guy has really found a way to change the business, pivot during the hard times, and really create something special. I am honored on Just a Tip to have Mr. David Foulquier here from, as you may know him, from Fooq's, 11th Street Pizza, Sushi Noz, Fifi, and coming very, very soon, the new Fooq's, Little River.
Yeah, babe.
Dave, thank you for coming on, bro. It's really a pleasure to have you on, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I had to get you in here because obviously, I've been following you since the very beginning. You've done so many irregular things that people might look at you and say, I don't know, man. That's not a good move. That's not a good move. You know, maybe pivoting during COVID, that's not a good move. But you keep fucking rewriting the book on what works and what doesn't. So I really just want to go through the journey with you, man. I know that you were born, you're from French descent, right?
Yeah, my dad's French, my mom's Persian.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a fucking interesting combination.
It's been honestly a pillar of my life.
I love it.
Big, amazing cultural inspirations to draw off of.
And you grew up in New York? I
grew up in the heart of Manhattan. Straight up New York City kid, born and raised.
When did you become a foodie? When did food kind of
I became a foodie. I have like pictures of me like making pancakes in the kitchen when I was like 3, and muffins and cupcakes, and I remember like always being I think eggs was like the first thing I loved to make, omelets. Probably 9, and just like love making milkshakes. Right. Also, I would like take the old tubs, mix them up with some milk and whatever else we had at home, and I just like always got in. I always was excited about like the alchemy of making things and creating things.
Yep.
And food was just an easy vehicle. I was definitely like a little chubster, still am.
Right.
I'm big bone.
we're big bone, bro. There's nothing.
The doc told me that the other day. He said, "Oh yeah, you're big."
You're not overweight. You're just big. I
was like, I knew my mom wasn't lying to me.
Did you like to go out to restaurants in New York? Were your family big into going out?
I have to say, I got really lucky, like growing up in New York City. When I was growing up, we grew up on the Upper East Side, which at the time, had its like kind of hiatus moment for a little while. But at the time, it was hip, and there were a lot of the best. It wasn't really a thing to go downtown for dinner. Like downtown had its own vibe, but they had its own institutions. But you rarely crossed the MetLife building, right? If you lived on the Upper East Side, and even more so if you lived downtown, to go uptown. But I grew up going out all the time. Yep. My mom and my dad, like both of them, it was either like out, like my mom was a big luncher, like Upper East Side is a big lunch place. Like my grandma lived down the street. Her best friends lived, a couple blocks away. So it was just easy to always like go grab a coffee at the Via Quadrono, our little neighborhood coffee shop where they knew us by name and we had the same seat every time. Or
Right.
go to dinner or lunch at Le Bilboquet, you know, and yeah, I mean, Philippe was one of my biggest inspirations. Like, I think probably if I have to say, like, he's the first guy who like turned me on.
Right.
He was like, turned me on to the restaurant business. You know, he was like, this is, I want to be like that guy.
Right.
You know, all the people coming in, shaking his hand, you know, enjoying his restaurant. And he was just working his ass off, going at it, you know, being super nice to everybody, remembering people's names, you know, creating these relationships with people. And
do you think that's kind of why, like, it's still around and it's still kind of, is it that they just figured out that it's not just about food, it's really hospitality?
It's really hospitality. And like, it's something that's like kind of like no longer a thing in the restaurant business, is like the owner / like maitre d' who runs the place.
Right.
You know, like nowadays, like most restaurants are hyper corporate, or, you know, like it's a restaurant group's 20th restaurant.
Right.
And, you know, like how much love can you put into your 25th, 50th, whatever restaurant?
Right.
Not saying that it's impossible.
Yeah.
But you do kind of just become a victim of your own success. So I think that he's probably, Philippe, looking back, and he's probably, you know, pretty upset that people are going there for him, because, you know, it's probably stopped him from being able to just open up.
Right.
Right. Because like you go to Bilboquet and you don't see Philippe, like, or like the maitre d' French guy at the door who's going to make you feel like Philippe makes
Right.
you feel.
How much of that do you think actually impacted the business in terms of?
I mean, at the time, before the days of like Open Table
Right.
and Resi, and like the only way you can get into a restaurant is if you like knew the owner.
Philippe was the plug. Right.
Philippe was the plug, and Emric, who ended up going to Open Bagatelle, was like his mini me, and he's done unbelievable. Also, he's a big mentor of mine.
Have you been to the one on the river yet?
I have not been to the one on the river yet, but it looks really great. And I mean, for me, like,
I'm hearing good things. I hear good things
mad
about
respect for people who do well in this business.
Right.
Like, I don't really judge how you do it.
Right.
You know, if you've managed to achieve success, clearly you're doing something right. And I'm not here to judge you on that. And look, like, am I going to be opening a clubstaurant, you know, bottles and models place?
Right.
Probably not. But I think that Miami clearly likes that, and the world clearly likes that, and there's clearly a need for it. And if you're going to do it well, right? Like, put out a good product. I know that Bagatelle always had amazing food. Right. Like, he took the food very seriously. If you know Emric, like, he likes to eat. He doesn't mess around. Like, he's not like, yeah, okay. He understands that he's going to sell 75% of his money is going to be champagne.
Right.
But how are you going to be mad about selling $20 million a year in champagne?
Do you think Miami is like overdoing it though with the vibe dining in terms of the $40 drinks and the
like all
sparklers?
Relative, you know, I think Miami has a lot of that.
Right.
But again, like, most people who come to Miami, that's what they want. Right. So like, you'd be dumb to not give the people what they want.
100%.
But at the same time, like, the difference between like where we are today versus where we were when I first moved to Miami, you know, 18 years ago, is like, now, like, you actually have like depth. You know, you have real places that are either A, just like locals joints, you know, hidden gem type places, or B, you know, more thoughtful, curated restaurants that are actually food centric, you know, tasting menu places, which was not a thing, you know. Now we've got the Michelin guide.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So like, all these things are little by little, step by step, inch by inch, like, causing the city to grow. And like, and now, you know, I've had a lot of success convincing people to come move here from New York, from Europe, from California. Like, I've literally pulled people from all three of those places for this past project. Historically, you know, people were a little hesitant. You know, it's like, oh, do I really want to go and leave my Michelin star job to come to Miami?
Take a big chance.
Take a big chance. Now they're like, not only are they all saying to me, like, their perception of Miami is that it's the culinary capital, which for us Miami people is crazy to hear, you know, because like, we obviously always are complaining that there's not enough places to go eat.
Especially, I mean, look at how much has changed since COVID. Like, it's before that, we were all praying for some of these concepts to come, and, you know, they're all here, and it's like, you know, is it maybe now too much, or do we even have enough people to supply all these restaurants? And
I think that corrections happen, right? Like, we obviously had a big boom in Miami during COVID, and I would say there were probably like 10% away off from where we were at like our peak, not like businesses, but just like as a city, if I were to like read the pulse on the city. But I don't think it's going anywhere.
Right.
I agree with you 100%.
It's a healthy place to be. Like, we used to not have any health food places. We used to have, you know, like Crunch Gym and like a dirty Equinox.
Muscle Maker grills.
Muscle Maker. Now you have like cool, you know, Wild Things opening here. You got
Avo's,
Avo. You got Anatomy everywhere. You've got Pure Vita has become a global sensation.
I'm super happy for those guys,
like it or not.
Absolutely.
I mean, like,
no, he did it right, man. He really knew how to run his numbers.
Figured it out, right? So like, again, so I think that respecting that and honoring that and being happy that as long as those people who are putting up those restaurants, like they're doing their legitimate best, you know, giving you great sound system, giving you great programming with great DJs, and, you know, trying to curate a cool crowd of people, like those people got to go somewhere,
right?
You know,
right.
So
let me tell you guys something I see all the time. You take over a second-gen space, you think it's turnkey, but the second you walk in, it's not exactly what you need. Maybe the bar layout doesn't flow, maybe the kitchen's a little outdated, or the bathrooms look like they haven't been touched since the 90s. That's why I tell all my clients, you need to call Brodson Construction. Whether you're building from the ground up or not, you still need the finishing touches done right. Brodson's been local and family-run since 1989. They're the top 1% in Florida, and they've handled everything from luxury homes on Star Island to some of Miami's best retail and restaurant spaces like LPM, Cipriani, Hillstone, Bell Harbor, just to name a few. Bottom line, don't settle for nickel and dime contractors who might underbid the work to win the job up front and screw you over in the end. Brodson maintains integrity every step of the process to build enduring relationships and never exploit clients. So remember, if you're going to build, call Brodson Construction.
So how did you wind up in Miami?
I grew up coming here for vacation a lot. My uncle lived in Key Biscayne. And so like anytime we'd have like a weekend off in New York City, you know, like my mom and my dad would rush down to Miami, President's Day, you know,
every long weekend,
spring break, winter break, you know, Columbus Day, any day, basically.
And what years, what years were this?
Like 93.
Oh,
it was
right
the
after
peak,
Hurricane
man.
Andrew. Right.
My uncle had moved here and he had our cousins here, and I loved coming here.
Yeah, you know, South Beach was like, I mean,
I don't even, to be honest with you, like I remember the first time I went to Lincoln Road.
Yeah,
I was like,
it was awesome.
Wow, like this is insane.
Right.
But
beautiful people everywhere, restaurants everywhere.
Coconut Grove was really cool. It's cool again, but again had another place that had a hiatus.
Right.
You know, that's like making its way back over the last 5-10 years. But you know, Coconut Grove and the Key, and just like I'll never forget like when I was a kid, like driving over the Rickenbacker.
Yep.
And like every time we leave the island and I'd like look at the city and the skyline and I'd be like, oh my God.
Right.
The boy dreaming, you know?
Yep.
And like when I was 16 years old, sophomore year, you know, at school, we went to prep school, Dalton, where like most of the kids went to, you know, Ivy League schools or, you know, top 30 universities. And like every year you had like one or two kids that ended up at University of Miami.
Right.
Me and my best friend Max were those two. But I basically like, my mom told me like sophomore year, she's like, you can go to school like anywhere but LA or Miami. I was like,
school, right?
You want me to drop out?
Right.
Those are the two cities I want to go to. Leaving New York, it's hard.
It is, because where are you going to go with just as much action and fun?
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I had amazing times visiting, you know, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana.
But it's a different vibe.
Vanderbilt, but it's a different vibe, you know. And like I was like a promoter in high school, throwing like parties for my high school. And then when I got to college, my first day, I became a nightclub promoter in South Beach. But
we always hold on. Now you touch the subject because we talk about this a lot. So what were some of the places you promoted?
So my first place was Rock Bar.
Okay, amazing. I remember Rock Bar.
Dimitri was my boss. The big tat.
Right.
I think they called him something. It was a big snake tat. He had a name. Cobra maybe is his nickname.
Rock Bar was a thing, man. Rock Bar was great.
And obviously at Mint next door, which when you could sneak in, it was a big win. And then I
promoted Laurent and stuff at the door
there. Yeah.
I promoted at Live. Yep. I promoted at Set. Yep. With Biz Martinez and Christine Hall. And I was just like I came to Miami, you know, like I said, I told the college advisor, I was like, look, like my mom says I can't go to school in New York. And I mean, in LA or Miami, we could deal without LA, but like your job is get me into University of Miami and convince my parents that it's okay for me to go there. And he's like, wow, you really know what you want. I was like, He's like, you sure you don't want to check out, Davidson and Williams? I was like, no, I got an eye on this place. It's called University of Miami. And I worked it. I did everything I could. I went to the admissions department. I sent emails after emails, personalized letters, did everything I could to reach somebody at the school. I got an interview. I was able to really get myself into school with subpar grades.
Were you promoting when you were in school or?
So,
nice.
I got to Miami freshman year and immediately I discovered that this was a special place.
Right.
And that the nightlife scene was really amazing also. And
major driving force. I think even to this day, everything is still intertwined between the nightclubs and restaurants and hospitality.
Totally. And I remember meeting so many cool people, and we made such a great group of friends at school. Kids from my year, the kids from a couple years older than me, and it just it felt like a safe playground kind of, which is crazy because you don't associate Miami with necessarily the safest place, but I always felt safe.
So what were some of your most iconic places to go to back then?
I think the number one was
Mint.
If you got into Mint, that was
what night though? But Mint had its
Thursday
nights. Thursday night was great.
Thursday nights, Sunset Sundays, Sundance.
Loved
that was the
Sundays.
Best.
Yep.
That was Biz and Christine, both still really good friends of mine. Love them dearly. That was probably the most fun. And then came Space. So Sunday mornings on the terrace, there's nothing like that. I know now they do Friday nights, Saturday nights until Tuesday sometimes, but Sunday morning, no better place to be in Miami if you're trying to party than the Space Terrace.
But you know what? That's a pretty solid list. Okay, so now you're promoting, you're in the scene, you're in school, University of Miami. How does the culinary come into your life?
Freshman year, I focused mostly on having a good time,
right?
As most of us do.
Absolutely.
I got the freshman 15, and I got some pretty crappy grades, and my dad just basically at the end of the year, I was like, Dad, look, University of Miami is an amazing place, but I'm not really learning what I want to learn. I'm learning that I love hospitality and I love the entertainment business. But, studying political science and, taking English lit classes is not going to be what's going to get me to perform in my life.
Right.
And like I said, I knew very early on that I wanted to move to Miami. I discovered very early on that FIU was a thing.
FIU, Chaplain School, hospitality.
Which at the time it was it still is, but I think it was already the top three. You had that, you had Cornell, a couple other places, but I discovered that was a thing.
Shout out to Dean Chang.
Dean Chang, he's my boy.
Dude, he is such an amazing dude, and more importantly, I love everything that they're doing. I mean, I did a guest lecture spot for Kush, and which I had an amazing time on. But what the campus that they created and the wine rooms and the kitchens and the amount of hoods and
kitchen's insane.
I really think that it's probably the best program in the country by far for hospitality.
I haven't been to visit the Cornell campus.
Yep.
I've been to Cornell, but I've never visited the hospitality school.
Yep.
We did a job fair there this year, so we're actively always looking at people who go to school there, just because it's the only Ivy League school that has a hospitality industry program.
How important was that FIU program for you?
Super important.
A lot of you know me from my F&B Miami page, but what you might not know is that I also run Florida's largest restaurant real estate brokerage called F&B Hospitality. Every week I meet somebody that thought that they could just wing it on a restaurant lease. And every week on F&B Miami, you guys see how that turns out. And that is exactly why I started F&B Hospitality Brokerage. We treat our clients' money like it's our money. We don't say things just to say it or paint pretty little pictures. We go based on facts and numbers. If we don't like a deal, location, or permit status, we are absolutely not afraid to tell you. It's about setting you up to last. So you could focus on food and foodies while we negotiate the build out and the terms.
What do you think that you've learned, that you've taken with you, that where maybe most people didn't catch or didn't, and they wind up failing?
It was pivotal for many reasons. First of all, when you're a kid and you're 18, 19 years old and not necessarily the most studious, finding something that really grabs your attention is the best way to go and be great, right? Greatness begins with passion, obsession, love for the game, and obviously a good educational base, right? But plenty of great people, plenty of people have succeeded in this business who never went to hospitality school, who started from the dish pit, you know, and that's why I love the restaurant business, you know, because it gives you so many of these incredible stories. And then some people did. And like, if you did get the privilege to go to hospitality school, cooking school, you know, like there was a lot of time that, oh, he went to cooking school, doesn't do anything. You can't discount that somebody committed, you know, 2 years of their life to go to the kitchen school every day, you know, and then get a job. Like, it's a wonderful thing to do.
Right.
Do I think that you learn more on the job? Yeah, you do. But at the same time, like one without the other is not going to be as good as if you can do both. So I think the thing that I took the most from that place was the fact that I actually showed myself that I could do well in school, which was like very like empowering. You know, you get a good grade on something. I learned how to become a sommelier in those introduction beverage courses. Ended up getting me my sommelier certification, which was cool. And then I took this incredible class with this guy who was like one of the original founders of Burger King. This guy David Foulquier. I don't know if he's still alive or not. He was like already like 85 when he was teaching this class. But he's like an OG. The class he was teaching was restaurant development. And part of like it was a master's level course, which is also really cool, is that the university lets you take master's level 500 level courses if you're undergrad, as long as like it coincides with your major and allows you to get to where you need to go. So I took this restaurant development course, which I had heard was like the class to take at FIU. And it was like, you know, 20 or 30 of us with Professor Talty, who had already owned multiple restaurants in his life. Was one of the original guys who founded Burger King. And he put together this really incredible curriculum where you had to do like a feasibility report, feasibility study, which was essentially like 100+ page, you know, report on this restaurant concept that of your liking, of your choosing, that you think would be successful. Everything from, you know, the name, the branding, the traffic count, the 3 locations, finding out your target demographic. You know, he was very like site selection first.
That's my jam.
That's what he said. He's like, look, like before anything, you find the site.
Right.
If you find the site, look at the parking, look at the traffic, look at the zoning, you know,
demographic, your delivery radius,
you know, like all those things. Like, because if you don't have those things, like you put the best concept in the world, and it's going to have a hard time succeeding. Right. Obviously, there's an exception to all the rules.
I mean, I think you've learned the last couple of years, people have learned that the hard way.
Yeah, some people learn it the hard way, and some people get really lucky.
Right.
You know, like somebody was saying to me the other day, like, oh, like Sonny's.
Right.
You know, going to Little River, like everybody says, oh, that's such a great location now. But had you asked us, all of us, Sonny's, us, 5-6 years ago, is this such a great location?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it? Like, happened here.
There was nothing there.
There's no success here. So if I had done a feasibility report based off of just the site selection,
it would have been tough.
I would have said it would have been a hard no.
Right.
You know, but
especially when prices were almost equivalent with Wynwood and
you get
places
a hunch,
with more density,
you know,
and
you feel it and you see how things develop, and then obviously like neighborhoods become cool and operators help make them cool and landlords help make them stay cool, you know, and like and obviously, but I guess the feasibility report part of it was really cool because it really taught me to look at things like very site centric, and then obviously to like work on like a concept. At the time it was like a rotisserie chicken,
which is funny because that's like the hot thing now.
It is
like a lot of the Peruvian guys who call me, they're like, we want to open rotisserie chicken. I'm like, huh. Then some guys from New York are like, oh, we want to do we need 500 square feet. We want to do a rotisserie chicken. I'm like, oh, so I guess that's the trend, right?
I love it. I mean, I grew up, like, it started because like I grew up in the summers in the south of France. We would get like chickens on the side of the road, you know, like you'd pass the chicken with the rotisserie with the potatoes, and you'd like pull, I don't know, €8 for chicken, you know, and like that was dinner, and just like all the drippings and the potatoes, and I was like, I just, nobody's doing it like that. Why don't we just do a cool fast casual?
Right.
And I was very proud of it.
Yeah.
Put in a lot of time. I put in a lot of effort. I got an A, which was like probably like the first time I got an A on any major thing.
But you were proud of it. Like that was your, you know, because you were also passionate, I'm sure, about it.
Yeah, man. I was raising my hand, you know, all the time, asking questions, answering questions, and like taking the most. I figured, you know, albeit much less expensive than UM, but it's still a, you know, I'm not an in-state, you know, I still have to pay to go to school, and if I'm going to pay to get this education, like, it's definitely get the most out of it. And
Yep.
I got the most out of it.
Well, I think one of the things, now that you brought up like site selection and all of that stuff, one of the reasons I really wanted to get you on the show, because, I think you almost saw the future back then. Yeah, I guess one of the reasons I definitely wanted you on, because I know that you saw the future, and, I'm really curious because obviously I am a huge fan of downtown. And I've always been, and I knew that it was naturally the next step. What made you decide to go into downtown when it was a time where, people might have thought you were crazy? And tell me about, Fooq's, especially with the concept that, might not have been, that was a risk. So tell me about like.
I was like really feeling ready.
Right.
To, not, you're never ready, but I was ready to explore and to just take the risk on
Right.
something. And at the time, like my criteria was small, manageable, low rent,
Right.
low risk. So I was like, look, it's my first restaurant. I most likely am going to fail. I don't know. I really don't know what I'm doing, even though, I have an education and I worked in the business.
Right.
I love it. But like, the odds were definitely stacked against me. And I like when I went to see, it was that place like that was called like Davida's at the time. Yeah. Winewood now, I think it became. And then I went to see where Foulquier ended up.
Mimo in the hotel.
Yeah.
Todd Leone's hotel.
I looked at both of those spaces, and I had brought like the late Michael Clemens, who was like this kitchen design legend. Who RIP passed away, but he like took me into Davida's and he was like, David, I've never done you a bigger favor. Get the fuck out of here and never look back. I was like, okay. Strong statement. He's like, you don't want to take this place over. Like, this is a mess. That's a mess. I was like, okay.
But that's so important, I guess, when you're opening, to have people really guide you the right way and, be honest. And, that could have really set you back.
Or, who knows? I could have been successful with it, but like to hear like and take advice from people who know better.
Yep.
Is something that like I value very much still to this day. Like I don't like I've had all these awesome successful businesses, but like I far from know it all.
Right.
And I love to surround myself with people who know more than me and who are like specialists in things. And I do consider, like over the course of your career and your life, like had you asked me then, I didn't know the first thing about building anything.
Right.
Now I've obviously built a lot of restaurants and like I understand construction, I understand kitchen design, but I'm still just a rookie.
Right.
Like at Fooq's, there's so many things that I'm already redesigning.
Right.
Like we started building it or started doing the project 4.5 years ago, and like I'm a different person. I've got different experiences. I've learned so much.
Right.
And now we're making little adjustments. So like
right.
being conscious of that all the time. But I guess so those two places didn't work out, and the last place that I went to check out was Nemesis Urban Bistro.
Yep.
The woman Mika. Yeah, she was on Top Chef.
Yep.
And obviously, if you liked food at the time, you watched Top Chef. So she didn't make it very long. She lasted about an episode and a half, and she got roasted by Colicchio and Padma. But there was not many people in Miami who had a restaurant that made it to Top Chef. Right. And I remember I was living in Brickell at the time, and it was just like a really cool, if you're like a New Yorker, it was a very cool, like kind of ruggedy, and like it felt like I was going to eat dinner in like Brooklyn.
Right.
Like
you got what? You got All Day next door. No, All Day wasn't there yet. Okay.
And
11 wasn't there yet.
11 had not when I had seen the space, but when I opened, it had.
By the time you had opened,
like at the same time.
Did you know they were coming in and like what they were going to do? I
knew they were coming in, but like again, we didn't know that it was going to be what it is today.
Right.
And I didn't know it was going to be some cultural phenomenon. Right. Like people tell you we're opening a 24-hour strip club. It's
right. And now it's the #1 nightclub in the United States.
I don't know if that's like reassuring or not. You know? But it ended up being really great. Cleaned the neighborhood up.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you remember Gold Rush.
Absolutely.
Dump.
Of course.
Metal detectors at the door. And
it was pretty ghetto. Yeah.
It was very ghetto.
Right.
And Club Space, like in 2015, was not owned by the people who own it today.
Right.
And it was a scary place. It was like, there was I remember a couple years before I opened, some woman's body got found in the dumpster behind the club. You know, it was like the dumpster that I share with Club Space now.
Right.
So it was a little bit freaky deaky, but I remember going in there, and I would always take dates or friends, and it was like a cool thing to like show people, like, oh, look at this little place selling thoughtful food in the middle of the hood.
Right.
You know, and yet it's so close to Biscayne and the Arena and Wynwood, and like there's got to be some play here. There's all these towers, you know, there's got to be something going on.
Look, as a business owner, I'll be real with you. Running my brokerage takes all my time. And in Miami, if you're not showing up online or on social media, you just don't exist. That's why I've worked with Sage Marketing Studios from the very beginning. Website, social, even this podcast. They're the ones behind the camera. Building strategy, keeping it consistent, and making sure my brand looks like it actually belongs in the city. So just a tip. Stop having your cousin post blurry iPhone pics once every 3 months. Hit up Sage Marketing Studios. You can find them on Instagram at socialmedia.sage and tell them Felix sent you.
I mean, I am a huge fan of downtown. I honestly, and I say this very publicly, I like downtown more than Brickell. And I see the future in downtown. I think Brickell's priced out. For me, it's like, you know, restaurants that are coming into the market, you know, paying $250 a foot, you know, I'm like, guys, you know how much you're going to have to sell to like recoup of that rent? You know, like downtown for me was just always a better and cheaper option.
Cheaper for sure. Better, I mean, remains to be seen.
Right.
You know, like obviously when I started, World Center wasn't a thing.
Right.
They were selling it like a couple years after I opened.
And I didn't buy it. Honestly, when I heard about World Center, I was like, I don't know.
I mean, look, I couldn't believe it. It was like from one day to the next,
right.
Almost. It felt like changed the neighborhood.
Right.
Admittedly, I haven't even gone to eat at any of the restaurants
right.
there. I walked past the Apple Store, didn't even go in.
More importantly, I mean, it's bringing bodies, you know, Earl's and Maple and Ash.
It's making people psychologically feel a little bit less scared.
Right.
And
with the Bright Line. And,
the Bright Line. I mean, the amount of residential towers that went up there. I mean, there's like 311 towers. Right. There's all of the Paramount towers. There's, you know, never-ending amount of development in downtown. I mean, a lot of these lots were just holes in the ground waiting to be built up on.
So like when you opened, who were kind of like the players? Like, you know, I know there was a bunch of great bars, right?
So the owner of the corner bar was my landlord. He owned the building, and so I took it for, it was like 100. I was like, I wish I remember, it was like $116,700 and something dollars. Wow, very weird. She had a dollar down to the cent that she wanted in key money. And I was like, and I got everything out from the restaurant except like a couple things that she wanted to keep, which I was like, fine, whatever. I still have some of the cups. You gotta keep those. Her cups from the restaurant that I actually have in my house now.
Amazing.
I made tea in them last night. But I took it and I was like, look, like, I'm not gonna negotiate with you. I had always sat at her, like at the counter, and talked to her, and I loved that it was like her and her daughter, and I thought it was charming and cute, and she would always talk to me. And like when I was young, not in the business like yet, like I would always talk to people.
Right.
I was like, that was the one thing, which is why I love podcasts. You know, like always wanted to talk, ask people questions. There's so much to learn from other people's experiences, you know, and when you're young, like you're absorbing all that knowledge and you're a sponge, and it helps create, you know, who you are as a person. So I spent a lot of time with her, and then she was like, you still trying to maybe open your own restaurant? I was like, yeah, actually I am. And I had the chef lined up, and a couple other spaces didn't work out. She's like, well, like, I'd like to sell it to you for this amount of money.
From the time that I guess you guys agreed upon a number, how long did it take you to open?
It was very quick. I must have gotten the lease done in like October. I opened in like February, March.
Right.
It was quick. I didn't do much. You know, I built a bookshelf. I blew out the counter that she had, and I created another kind of a smaller little counter, and then made a little hole in the kitchen a little bit bigger, added some
cosmetics mostly. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all in like $250,000.
I mean, that's a gift today.
With the key money.
Right.
You know?
And what was your rent like back then?
It was like $2,700.
I mean, in downtown.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean,
but like, again,
it's a different downtown.
I suffered.
Right.
Like, it was a dump when I went there.
Right.
Like, you used to have to walk over homeless people like they were landmines,
right,
to just get into the door of the restaurant, which is scary. A lot of people, you know, like, first of all, like, you're spending a lot of money at this beautiful restaurant. Like, do you want to see like homeless people like peeing on the sidewalk and, you know, naked people like making a scene, mugging you on your way
right,
to the car when you're going to your parking lot, getting conned by some guy in the parking lot pretending to be a parking attendant, like every crazy thing, heroin overdoses in the bathroom, you know, like the shit that I saw, like, that will be in my book one day.
I can't wait.
Is insane. So like, you pay $2,700, but like what I paid was way beyond
Right.
that, the price that I had to pay for being there,
Right.
without parking, without valet, without, you know, security, with really nothing.
Yep. Well, I mean, you learned from the best school of Hard Knocks, you know?
School of Hard Knocks. So
Yep.
like, and I also learned from my landlord is the very famous as is.
As is.
You know, like, this is your space.
Right.
You knew what you were getting yourself into.
And that's where I think a lot of people have misconceptions where, you know, second generation doesn't necessarily mean move-in ready.
No.
Right.
Means you take it with its flaws.
You're getting a good deal, but hey, you know, whatever it is, it is.
Peeling
right.
away the potato, the layers, you know, you find the rotten part of the potato, and everything has that, right?
And I mean, now we're finding more and more like those, you know, pieces that you're peeling away at will take a lot of time for you to start opening up, you know?
Yeah, and then you learn to just like take it on the chin.
Right.
You know, like the amount of shit that happened, flooding and electrical, and having to, you know, I've lost business from the buildings being built. And, you know, my landlord, he's my boy.
Right.
I love him. But he, you know, if I had a leak and I called him, you know, it's wrong number.
Right.
You know, it's like, you got to figure it out on your own, buddy.
100%.
You know, like, I'm here. I gave you the opportunity. You know, I own the building.
He gave you the don't bother me
Don't
price.
look at me. For the price. You know, a lot of people nowadays, operators, you know, are you know, they're divas. You know, like, oh yeah, my landlord didn't do this. My landlord didn't do that. I was talking to Michael Parolo the other day, and he was like, yeah. I called. I don't know about you, but I call the landlord about an electrical problem. He literally will say wrong number. Right. Give me the electrician number.
Yeah. He tells, you know, he'll most likely tell you, hey, hold on. You have the don't bother me price. If you want me to get involved price, we're going to talk about a different price, right?
So
now, okay, so now you opened up your first place. You're fucking in it. You learned the hard way, maybe out a couple more dollars more than you thought. So now I guess the question is, how do you get people into the door on a new concept?
I got really lucky. I hired my girlfriend at the time worked for the Workshop Collective, which is Jordan Binder.
Yep.
That was his PR agency.
We love Jordan. Shout out to Jordan.
Yeah, shout out to Jordan and Miley. She was wonderful as well. And Kevin, who did the Fooq logo back in the day. They were really cool at the time. You know, like, they had the pulse on the cool kids and the trendsetters. Right. And, you know, Miami was a much more local place then.
Right.
And so I hired them, and they helped me with the logo, create the initial branding, and get the menus designed. Because at the time it was my first, you know, now I have a partner, Connor Cowden, who's amazing, who does all the creative for us. And he's been now with us, you know, almost 10 years, but he wasn't there at the time,
right?
You know, so I was kind of just figuring it out as I went. And we put together like a great friends and family list I was just telling you about before we met.
Yep.
And Nicole, who had been working at Crumb on Parchment, where Coat is now, in that building.
Used to love that place.
Used to love that place. It was the best. It was Michelle Bernstein, who at the time, if you worked for Michelle, Michael, Alan, you know, those were the three guys.
It was inside the building, I remember.
Norman.
Yeah.
If you had one of the guys that were girls that worked from there, like, that was the next generation of Miami chefs.
Right.
So, you know, you had like Roel Alcudia and Michael Beltran and Niven.
Yeah. That's all the new guard.
Yeah, that was the new guard.
Which is now the older guard.
Now we're the old. Yeah, now we're the passing it on.
Right.
But yeah, those guys, you know, still are doing amazing things. But I met Nicole, and I was just like going in there I lived in Midtown, so I'd walk over there, and I'd go get lunch, and every week she'd have like different specials. And like one day she made me a bucatini matriciana that was like the best pasta that I'd ever had. And I was like talking to her, I'm like, and she's like, yeah, I was in California, like really want to open my own place back home, blah, blah. And when I heard like want to open my own place, my ears,
Right.
peaked up, and I was like, look, like I need a chef, and you seem like a homie,
right?
Like let's talk about it. And I took her, and like originally we wanted it to just be a wood-fired oven spot.
Yep.
Where there would just be like a wood-fired oven and everything would come out of there for the most part.
Right.
The wood oven dreams had to hold until Fooq's 2.0 10 years
Right.
later, but they're happening.
Yeah.
And we kind of like had a nice little thing going, with her being a Michelin graduate, and Nemesis having had been a cool, like kind of culty thing.
Yep.
Everyone's like, oh, opening in the former Nemesis space, which is what we were talking about. Like, is it good or bad to go to second gen? I think it's good if a place has positive association. Right. If you're going into the place that's turned hands 3-4 times, probably not.
Right.
But like also sometimes yes.
Yeah.
You never know. Like someone can turn the ship around. You never know. Like you want to give that operator the chance. But it was kind of just like a great, like
it came together perfectly. Right?
Together perfectly, and then we got a great review. What was her name? Who at the time was like Pete Wells.
Right.
She was chopping people down any chance she could. She was a roaster.
Right.
Like she didn't give many good reviews.
But I remember even when you guys opened, you guys always from the get-go, people loved Fooq's, and more importantly, like you guys were considered the cool little hidden gem that, was different from all the vibe dining and big things that started coming into the scene.
Yeah, like for sure. We were definitely. It was like a refreshing thing to.
It was different. It was different.
Go to the big, the Zumas and the Nobus, and the places that like Miami people had gotten used to. It gave you like a slice of New York, But
like, more importantly, I felt like the food had a love.
It did. It was always like super honest.
Right.
At the time, farm to table really wasn't a thing.
Right.
But Nicole, I swear I went broke the first year from the bills to the farmers.
Right.
But I'm forever grateful because I got great relationships with all the local farmers. We had put an amazing product out. Like when you use good product, it's not hard to make good food.
Right.
Like you really have to try to fuck up good vegetables and good meat and good fish. Like, so you start with a good product, you're going to do well. So we were obviously at the time, like it wasn't as cost conscious, it was just like, how do I get people in the door? And like P&L, like we'll figure it out. Right. Like you just got to see if people even like want to show up to this place. And then obviously you learn, you live and you learn, and you realize that, 50% food cost on vegetables is probably not going to last the test of time. But then, we worked, we made little tweaks and we created a menu that everybody really loved. And then we honored, the farmers that we like to work with, and we always bought local, and we were like very much about that, which was very cool back then. Right. Now I think that like this concept of local has become a little less, little less important. I feel like people are less, it's like, oh yeah, like, okay, local this, local that's cool. But
right.
I think now it's more like, how do we put the best product out? And if that means using some local products, great. But like, I love fish from Portugal.
Right.
Why would I not import a beautiful sea bream?
Absolutely.
Shouldn't be held against me, right? But like, I'm also going to sell a nice local snapper.
Right.
Like I love, American beef, but what if I find some incredible Irish beef that you'll never be able to see? Like, it's like I'm always about just doing things with intention, and working to source the best product and the best and separating yourself by going that little extra mile. So like at that point in time, going a little extra mile was being local.
What was the turning point for you when you're like, you know what, this is working? Not that I've made it, but like, now I might be ready to move on to another project. At what point did you feel comfortable enough?
I don't really think there was a moment. I think that like I knew I had aspirations. That I think there was a moment where I learned that I could step away from the restaurant, and that was like right around when my mom was dying, probably like 3 years in from when I opened the restaurant. I don't think I really missed a service during those first 3 years. Maybe like super sick or something like that. But
how many people are on your team back
when
then?
I opened? It was like
it's always more
like 4 in the kitchen and like 4 in the front of the house.
And then when you kind of perfected it, like
when I perfected it, it might have been like 5,
right,
6,
right,
and 6.
right.
So it was maybe like 12 at its peak.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool when you think about it.
Right.
Nowadays, like, you know, my kitchen is one service is 12 guys on the line.
Right.
At Fooq 2.0.
So, obviously, I'm very sorry to hear about your mom. But is that when you started going back to New York?
Yeah, that was when I told at the time it was Maka and Marielle, who were kind of my managers, both amazing girls.
Right.
I told them, I was like, you girls know how I like to do this thing.
Right.
Like, we've been together long enough since day one. It's been 3 years. We've been in the trenches. Like, you know how I treat my staff. You know how I treat my guests. You know what I want from the kitchen. You know what I want from the wine. I need to take a little bit of a break right now, and I got to go be there for my family and like be there for myself. And I got to spend a lot of quality time with my mom,
right?
And spend some quality time with my brother.
Right.
Get Sushi Noz open.
But that's, I guess that was my question. So, you know, you're the type of creature that, you know, like me, we can't sit still for very long. So first of all, how did, you know, omakase and Sushi Noz like fall into your life?
Technically, Sushi Noz happened. Well, the idea of it happened before Fooq's even opened.
Right.
I went to school and I went to
sushi, the Tokyo Sushi Academy,
Sushi Academy, which was really cool. And when we were there, my brother came to visit me, and we went out and we went eating around Tokyo.
That must have been fun.
It was incredible. Right. And we knew like that we liked sushi, and we'd had a couple of omakases in New York, but obviously nothing like what you have in Ginza in Tokyo.
Right.
And so we had an incredible dinner, and my brother and I, we were like wasted after dinner, walking on the streets of Ginza, like arm over each other's arms, being like, one day we're going to open this kind of restaurant in New York City.
Right.
And like, we put it out in the universe that day, put it out in the heavens. And I knew already that I wanted to go in the restaurant business when I was on that trip. I didn't know what, you know, in what form. I didn't know if it was going to be food. Fooq's didn't exist. You know, Sushi Noz didn't exist. I just knew I wanted to open a restaurant. And then when I got back, I worked at Gigi's for a little bit and met a few cool people who ended up helping me open Fooq's, who were part of like the opening day team. And all the meantime, Sushi Noz was kind of just like an idea.
Right.
But we had met this amazing chef, and I was like, you know what, maybe one day we'll do something with this guy. And like, the Sushi Noz story is a story for another day, but it ended up basically that we met Chef Noz through that trip to Japan, and we ended up, he was working at this place called Sushi Den, and we were going there all the time. And then like over the course of my first 2 years of opening Fooq's, of Fooq's existing, we were like building up the momentum, going to lease. You know, I think we had like 2 lease negotiations that failed. You know, we were originally going to open in Grand Central with SL Green. And we learned the hard way of what it's like to be a little guy.
SL Green's a whole nother monster, man. That's a landlord, bro. That's York, you know, we got some people, good friends of ours, you know, shout out to, you know who you are on SL Green. But they're a monster. That's
talk about, you know, landlords who aren't going to throw you a bone. I mean, those guys are not going to, and by the way, they earned it.
Right.
You didn't become the biggest landowner in the biggest city in the world by being Mr. Nice Guy.
Absolutely.
You know, but we also learned that you got to read leases.
Right.
You got to negotiate. You got to listen to your lawyers. You got to go and check a place out 3, 4, 5, 10 times before you make your decision.
But again, what really is interesting to me about the choices that you've made, because if someone off of the street is like, listen, I'm going to do a Mediterranean here, I'm going to do a sushi in another city, I'm going to do a French in, you know, whatever. I'm like, no, you're batting out. You're going to strike out every time. But you've managed to bat 1,000 in terms of switching concepts. A lot of restaurateurs will stick to what works, where you kind of like rogued it, and you're like, okay, well, I have this, you know, concept here, but in New York, I'm going to do sushi. I mean,
people always like, I think like investors and consultants and people, you know, who love to make their voices heard. Like, I think the one that we hear always with my brother has been like, stick to your core competencies.
Right.
my core competencies is being great.
Right.
It doesn't discriminate from New York style pizza to high-end sushi to Mediterranean to French to steakhouse to whatever the future may hold. Like, I think if your core competencies are being obsessed with being great, that should be your motivating factor, right? And then if you're able to surround yourself, like, that's one of my core competencies. And my second core competency is building amazing teams. Like, doesn't matter if you go to war with a bad army, you're going to get your ass kicked. If you go to war with a bunch of killers who are ready to fight, bleed, sweat, do all the hard work, there's really nothing that can't be done. And obviously having my brother to open Sushi Noz with me, like bringing him into the mix was a non-starter. I think without him, it would have never been possible.
Well, I mean, you guys landed in the 30 under 30 for that one.
Yeah. No, I did. He was not yet. I actually had that for Fooq.
Right.
He had Sushi Noz was not open yet when
I got it. I thought for some reason I thought it was for Sushi Noz.
No, it was not, which is actually even cooler.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah. I had Nick Jamais had wrote me, had like recommended me, the guy who owns Sweet Greens, Lee Schrager, Danielle Blue. I'd gotten all these people who had like supported me that wrote on my behalf, and I didn't even know. I just got it. I got the nomination one day, and I was like, wow, like all these people just reached out for me. Like, that was pretty cool, honestly. I haven't thought about that one in a while, but yeah, when we opened Sushi Noz, my brother was 24.
Right.
You know? He was a baby.
Yeah.
And he might be one of the youngest people ever to get a Michelin star as like a restaurant owner, or at least at the time he must have been, because we didn't wait very long until we got a Michelin star. And having him, and then also having my partner Noz, which is obviously everything at that place.
Right.
Without him, there is no Sushi Noz. And then through that team, we built a bunch of incredible loyalists who are now partners at the company. Megumi Fitzpatrick, she's our essentially like our everything director of ops for all things Sushi Noz related. She's an owner on that side of the business, and we made her an owner. And Connor Cowden, who I mentioned earlier, he started as an intern in the office downstairs. And he got fired 3 times before, finding his spot that he landed in comfortably. And
so you really did create a family.
We created a family. Right. And like, all families, they have their ups and their downs, but like you see, people always say, oh, like, everybody talks the talk about family. Like, we walk the walk. Right. We are a family business.
Well,
my dad, my brother, and myself.
And again, now that you're like in situations, obviously everything is great, everybody's in love, but now COVID hits.
Yeah.
So tell me, like retrace your steps back to how everything is good. COVID hits, the world gets thrown off.
Got a Michelin star.
Right.
Like, imagine we were all steam moving forward. Fooq's was having its best year ever. I don't know if you guys remember, like Hamilton was showing at the Arch Center.
Yeah.
Like Fooq's was always the difference between like a good week and a great week was what's going on at the Arch Center. Like if there was the symphony or the ballet or a cool show, like we would get that 5:30 pop,
right? And
then the like post game pop. So you'd get all the old people who had the memberships at the Arch Center,
right,
coming at 5:30, getting out of there at like 6:30 for their 7 p.m. shows. So we were getting that extra turn, and we were a 40-seat restaurant, so that meant a lot. And Hamilton that year was doing like a crazy extended run. I don't know if it was like a month or 2 months. And like we were already, the year before was our best year to date. We were 30% above our year to date,
right,
of the preceding year. So like, let's just say we were going to do like maybe like close to like $1.5 million out of that tiny 4 walls.
So
I was obviously vibing,
right,
and Sushi Noz was killing it,
right.
And when COVID hit, I was like, can we open one more day? Like Hamilton has one more show, I was like, didn't think it was going to be this thing that was going to put us out, literally put us out. But right away, COVID happened. We started like immediately thinking, what are we going to do here? Like, first and foremost, like we have like human beings that we need to account for, that we need to make sure have like food on their table. Right. So we went hard on all things PPP, government assistance. Like I have to say, like government showed up,
right,
and granted, it's costing us all now, you know, in the form of inflation and all the things that the economy is going through. But at the time, you know, like, how else was I going to tell my staff, you know, like, what were people going to do?
Right. But what I think is really interesting is that, you know, when we reopened, you didn't stick with the same concept. Once again, you double down, you do a completely 11th Street pizza.
Well, look, that literally was that happened because for me, Fooq's was always about the family.
Right.
Like, it was about Maka, Marielle, Tuscany, Brian, you know, all the people, Adelaida, all the people that had been with me from the very beginning, that like we were Fooq's.
Yep.
Like, yeah, like my nickname, whatever, but like we were Fooq's.
Right.
So like, what was I gonna do? All these people had to move on, you know, because they weren't gonna stick around for me to decide what I was gonna do. And like, I kind of needed a little bit of a break after like 5 years of just going at it, having lost my mom. So like, COVID was kind of perfect. It was like, okay, we tried to sell, you know, food boxes. We tried to take out. This isn't working. I'm losing money. You know, this isn't good for the staff. Nobody was showing up to work. It was impossible to like put out a product.
Right.
So I tried first to just like, I leased the space out. Like, I had the Laotian people. Yep. I forget the name, Little Laos.
Yep.
And then Lena, who now is Kiko in New York. We did like a little pasta thing, Dalida, together, which was fun. But when it looked like it was time to like get back on the horse, it was like, well, are we bringing Fooq's back?
Right.
Or are we going to just try something new and fresh and cool and different that we normally otherwise wouldn't try? And I couldn't go and just put the team back together.
Right.
So I was like, what am I going to give people a half-assed version of what Fooq's was?
Right.
Plus, at that point, I had kind of mentally graduated from that space for that concept.
Right.
I was like, look, like, clearly people love this. This is a concept that would do really great if it had a wood grill and a wood oven and a big, beautiful space like Bevel in LA.
Right.
You know, like, that was I was like, how do I build Bevel? I want Bevel.
Right.
That's Fooq's 2.0. And so I put it out there on Instagram. I was like, yeah, Fooq's is closing. Within like 5 minutes, I got put on Little River.
Yep.
And I started, you know, hustling it and ended up getting the 2.0. But during that time, I was like, okay, I know Fooq's is going to have its legs again at some point in time, but like, what can we do for now? Like, what do people want now?
Right.
And I remember, I think it was like Old Greg's, who,
right,
like, went viral during COVID.
That's right. Doing the lottery, you couldn't buy the pizza.
Yeah, like whatever it was.
I mean, it was a brilliant marketing move.
Yeah, I mean, when you're cooking fucking pizza out of your home,
right?
Like, how else are you going to do it?
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
like,
listen, Jackie Rich was very good at promoting, you know, and she, you know, she made Greg a viral sensation.
Yeah, and so I got super inspired by that.
Yep.
And then I was I had a friend of mine who, like, during the peak of COVID was staying with me, and I remember, like, we would get like the weekly financial reports,
right?
And, you know, I'd look at my businesses that are losing, you know, all the money every week, you know, yeah. And this guy, every fucking week, he'd look at his P&L and he'd be smiling. I'm like, what are you smiling at?
Right.
He's like, I own 37 Papa John's franchises in New York City.
Wow.
Like, look at these numbers.
Right.
And I was just,
I'm in the wrong fucking business.
In the wrong business. Like, this guy's making a killing.
Yeah, but again, you know, you double down and you change the concept again. Like, you went into a completely different concept with no experience of that concept. And you actually, listen, pizza is one of those things like I take very seriously. Like, you know, 11th Street Pizza is always in my top pizzas in Miami category, hands down. Good. But for you to just come in where so many pizza operators like mid or, you know, just like, you know, and just be like, I'm going to do pizza. And you came out with one of the best pizza places in Miami.
Yeah, I got it. You know, I got the bug.
Right.
Like, I grew up obviously in New York City.
Obviously.
Like,
by the slice.
By
absolutely.
the slice
right.
pizza all the time. And then when I came here, like, Steve's Pizza was like the only place that you could get something that felt somewhat
authentic.
Like,
right.
Yeah. Like, you know, what was that place? Sushi Noz.
Yeah.
Like, that was where we used to order from in UM. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
This is not pizza.
Right.
This is some weird variety that Miami people think is pizza, but like, that's not pizza to me.
Right. And again, people always blame the water. People always blame the humidity. People
no more of that.
Right.
People make great pizza in Miami.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like, look, like, okay, drawing board. What makes pizza good? What makes pizza great? You know, like, I didn't know what made pizza great. Right. I knew why, like I knew which pizza was better than another. Like I could tell you like, yeah, like this Lucali's pizza is much better than this your Steve's pizza, or, you know, like I could say I could tell quality, but I didn't know what it was that separated you from the pack. And then, you know, I got very inspired by Frank and Frank's. Yeah. So F&F's, they were kind of like not the first, but yeah, they kind of were the first. They were the first people to do like sourdough for New York style pizza. Right. Like sourdough is already kind of a thing in some places in California and SF. Like you'd seen a couple places that were doing it. And obviously like the guy from Tartine Bakery, Hollingsworth or whatever his name is, partnered with F&F guys and Chris Bianco, and they all kind of created this recipe. And I went to try F&F's and I was like, wow. They were telling me all about how, you know, this pizza was not like your average New York pizza. Yep. And you could taste it, like you could feel that it was different, like the way that it got digested and the way that it presented and the price point, you know, like it wasn't a normal thing to charge like $40 for a pizza, you know, and like,
well, and I think we almost had at the same time, we just like a pizza revolution in Miami with, you know, Miami Slice and Joe's coming into the market.
They came after.
What is it?
They came after.
No, I get it. But I'm saying like around the same, the same time. But like we finally are now, we go from having nowhere, everybody's like, oh, Miami pizza sucks, to shit, we got some great pizza.
It's a
Miami.
good pizza city. Right. People take it seriously here now. Obviously, Portnoy being like a Miami guy, like
obviously that helped. You know, that helped.
Jazzes up, builds up the crowd for it, you know, and like still to this day, like I've had Michelin stars, under 30, James Beard, not James Beard nominations, but things like in that world. And like nothing has ever moved the needle like Portnoy. Right. Yeah. Like Portnoy was 0 to 60.
We've spoken about this on the show a lot. You know, it's
the Portnoy effect.
The Portnoy effect. He could really make your business.
He can make your business.
Or break it.
But I mean, he's generally like, if he's going to break it, like you probably sucked.
Right. Then you probably shouldn't be open
probably
anyway.
Shouldn't be. Or like at the very least, like, look, again, there's something for like, there's a time for a 6.2.
Right.
You know?
Right.
When you're like somewhere random and that's all the best you can get, you know, but like, why would you settle nowadays? Like there's so much great pizza.
What are some of your favorite pizza places in Miami? Like if you're just like hanging out, if you're not, like, if you're like eating your own.
I don't eat, I'm gluten free now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I discovered that I have a really bad gliadin allergy.
Right.
And I think it came from opening the pizza shop.
Right.
So I didn't used to have it.
Yep.
And then like I ate so much pizza.
Yep.
At the shop, like while I was developing the project, the concept, but then not having had like a stomping grounds in Miami, you know, like it used to be like you'd catch me at Fooq's, you know, like all my meals I was eating.
You can't figure out a good gluten-free pizza.
And I was like, what am I gonna do if I can't get my creative juices out and I can't go to my restaurant? My office is on top of 11th Street, so I was just pizza, pizza. And like I think in life, when you do too much of something,
everything in moderation. It got to be everything in moderation.
Your body tells you, you know, like no fuck
good.
You, and my body told me no good. Right. So right now I'm not eating pizza. I mean, I love Lucali's. Like that was probably like
that's your hit. That's your pleasure, guilty pleasure.
Yeah, like before I had 11th Street, like I went to Lucali's once a week. Right. You know, like, I love that.
Shout out to Mark. We love you.
Yeah, we love Mark.
Best. Yep.
He's the man. And just like it was just like a neighborhood joint. Place felt cool. Right. They used to do the escarole salad. Yep. Which I think is actually an F&F original. I think at the Frank and Frank's. Right. I think like Mark kind of did his spin on it. And I think when Mark took down Miami back over, he changed the menu up a little bit. Yep. And the escarole salad with the grapes went off the menu. Yep. Put it back on. But he had great wings, which I love.
Calzone, remember the calzone?
It was just like it's great.
Yeah,
it was like, and if you wanted a pizza at the time in Miami, and like you weren't gonna drive up to, you know, basically Miami Shores or whatever you want to call that for Steve's, right? Which was anyway no longer. Once I knew what good pizza really was meant to be, like again serviceable, but like not worth the long journey, right? So I think Lucali's was the best. And other than that, I mean, I'm Fratesi. Chris worked for me when I opened 11th Street, and he was a really good guy, and I enjoyed having him on my team.
He's crushing it now, huh?
Yeah, he was really like a pizza nerd. Like when I met him and came to work for me, I was like, cool.
Now, I mean, like there's like a
this kid's
month wait there to get.
I mean, I don't even know how he does it or like how he does the
reservations,
distributions of the pies.
Right.
But everybody who goes raves about it.
Yeah.
And I love a good tavern style pizza. I love that it's like original. There's nothing copycat about it. You know, there's no, you know, like certain people out there.
We know who you're talking about.
Which we're not going to mention, but I love that like you can work somewhere and like take inspiration, but like put your own spin on something. Like I admire that. That's how I do what I do.
Right.
If you know, I once had a chef who I was interviewing. I asked him, I was like, "What inspires you?" And I don't know. I said, "Well, you get inspired by other chefs?" No. And he lost me.
Right.
Like if you don't get inspired by other chefs, like who are you? Like are you Jesus? Like you know something that we don't know? Like who else are you learning by? Just like you got to get inspired by other chefs. You got to get inspired by other concepts. Like that's the nature of the business, right? Like if you're just nobody, like I can have some great idea, but like flushing it out, seeing it in action, learning is how, in my opinion, how like you make things really great. And I think like imitation is a big form of flattery, but I do think it's important to like find like something that like separates you, you know, like what is it that like is unique about your place? And this guy, like he's using great products, using great flour, he's putting beautiful sauce, and you don't see that pizza anywhere else. Right. You know, it's like so easy. It's like, it's such an easy thing to do differently, you know, like.
But I love watching a lot of these independent operators really neat. You know, Mark's Pizza opened, they're doing gangbuster numbers. You know, obviously the Fertesi guys. I guess that's why I love Miami. Like you know, when I see independent operators open and crush it, nothing makes me happier, you know?
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Right. Okay, so now you got 3 fucking great bang out concepts. Yeah. And now I guess what made you decide, and this was when I heard about the space that you took in Little River, I was like, no fuck. I was like, I thought it was a rumor. I was like, no fucking way. The guy took 10,000 square feet in Little River. No, no way. Because you did that. You signed that deal a long time ago.
Yeah.
And like it's
2021.
Right. 2021. That's right.
So I'll be honest with you. By the way, shout out to my other 2 restaurants, not to be forgotten. Noz 17, which opened during the pandemic. Was also Chef Matsu has gotten a Michelin star there 4 years in a row, maybe 5. I don't know, since it opened.
We got 11th Street Dadeland, right?
We got 11th Street Dadeland, and we've got Noz Market, which is also a pandemic baby.
Interesting.
Which was like kind of our pivot during like the pandemic. With pizza was my Miami pivot. Right. With New York, like we were in real danger, you know, not being able to serve omakase, like specifically omakase. Like,
right.
You could, some restaurants opened after, you know, like obviously New York was really,
Miami still had some life because
you couldn't
of all
do anything in New York, but they drew hard lines, especially with sushi.
Right.
So like imagine that COVID happened in March.
Right.
We were not legally allowed to open again until January, when we were able to open for like 1 month, and then had to close again until the summer.
Right.
So it was like almost 18 months of not being able to have omakase.
So what did you do?
Imagine how long that is. For
no,
business.
that's I mean, but you're still on the hook.
And
depending on your landlord, you're still on the hook for rent.
So we got blessed. My brother and I, we were like, okay, like takeout. Let's try takeout.
Right.
And at first, it was just salmon and tuna dons in like the crappy plastic bowls that you'd get at like, you know, Chipotle.
Right.
And we were just like trying to just get by, you know, like literally keep our staff, you know, we had to keep our staff working and
but even with that, like, cause you know, good sushi doesn't travel well.
No.
Long. So what did you do for distance?
This was honestly a bad product.
Right.
Like looking back, like it lasted, you know, after a week of doing it, like it went gangbusters. People were like, oh my God, I can order Sushi Noz, even if it's a stupid, you know, tuna bowl.
Right.
You know, like people are just excited to try it, be able to get a Michelin starred sushi.
Right.
And so my brother, who's like also even more of a nut than me when it comes to like being obsessive about things being perfect.
Yep.
He was like, this is humiliating. Like we cannot serve this to people and call it Sushi Noz. Like, this isn't Sushi Noz. So he went all in and found these like beautiful wooden boxes that we had imported from Japan, which at the time, you know, shipping things from Japan was unheard of because of the blockades,
Right.
the COVID and everything coming over the seas, the shipping rates were 3-4x
Astronomical,
what
right.
they were today.
Yep.
But it was brilliant because we put, the sushi rolls and the bowls and the omakase hand roll kits and the nigiri boxes into these beautiful boxes that ended up becoming the new norm.
Right.
Like now you order sugarfish,
Yep.
you order,
I was going to bring it up.
I don't know, any of these places, it comes, again, we did not invent it.
Right.
This whole thing was started in Japan, but I think we were the first people to do it in New York.
Right.
And in America. And I didn't know about it. I didn't know that that's how sushi got taken away. Like I had always been to Japan, you buy the sandwiches
Right.
at the train station. They come in the beautiful wood boxes. Like Japan, they do everything better.
Right.
Just how it is, right? And
but how nervous were you? I mean,
I was very
bringing
nervous.
on this extra expense
I
of
was
these beautiful
freaking
wooden
out,
boxes,
but it
right.
ended up being the best decision. And so next door to us, we had like a Japanese bakery. This is a great like real estate F&B
Right.
situation. That was like where we took all of our meetings. It was like our office.
Right.
And they were doing a Japanese bakery, believe it or not, called Harbs. And it was always dead. There was nobody, like, it just, people weren't responding in the neighborhood. And we were just like waiting for this place to go bust. Obviously COVID, immediately they went bust. And the landlord was like, hey, like, I see you guys are doing great with your takeaway.
Right.
Would you be interested in taking his spot and turning that into your takeaway so that when Sushi Noz is able to reopen,
Right.
you could keep doing takeaway?
Right.
Because we had developed this business now of takeaway, which was putting up crazy numbers.
Right.
Like we got very lucky also for like caterings. We did a lot of like in-house omakase
Right.
catering.
Because that turned into the thing, right?
That was
Like,
the thing.
right.
Like, you had a house in the Hamptons in summer of 2020, like,
people still want food. People still want outdoor gatherings, and
yeah, like there were people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, that summer on being able to give people the experience of eating at a restaurant.
Right.
So we got really lucky. We got a great deal on the lease, no key money. We didn't do anything. Maybe repainted
Right.
a couple things, took Harbs off of the window and put Sushi Noz.
were you on the
Market.
hook though for a long time, or was it like, hey, we don't know what's going to
signed a
happen?
full lease.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's a fucking
Well,
risk.
no. We signed at first like a trial.
Right.
We were like, let's see how it goes.
Yep.
We saw how it went. They had like a year left on the lease.
Yep.
And then it was to sign a
Got
new
it.
one, and we signed a new one still in the middle of COVID.
Right.
We signed a new one, but at least at that point we had a little proof of concept,
Right.
and we actually closed, and we renovated the whole thing, did the whole Sushi Noz effect on it, brought Sankakuya to design it, put a little sushi bar in the back, turned the front into the hand roll
Right.
counter with the little takeaway display box. And that became that was another pivot, right?
Right. So, I mean, that's also, I guess, leads me to another question is, how important do you feel it is to have a great relationship with your landlord?
Look, the guy, I don't know if my relationship with him is great.
Right.
He's a very tough, he's a hard-nosed, actually, he's no longer even my landlord.
Right.
He sold the building like 6 months ago.
Right.
Stephen Barry. But he was the classic wrong number guy.
Right.
I mean, this guy would have never, he wouldn't lift a finger to help you.
Right.
It's just how it is over there, especially
Sure.
in New York. But, and by the way, we signed a terrible lease at the time. Like it was my first lease in New York, like, I don't know what we had to guarantee. I don't remember. It was scary.
Right.
Like it was a lease that had like not a lot of ways out. I mean, like looking back, like 2025 David would tell you like never sign that
Right.
lease. But again, like you got to risk it for the biscuit. And that's what also the other thing that I always tell people. It's like, if you don't take big risks in life, like little decisions that like define your whole career, like taking the risk on going into the ghetto of downtown Miami, like
Right.
a lot of people would have said, you're crazy. Why don't you spend $5,000 and go to Wynwood?
Right.
Like,
But then, again, you change the script again, even with 11th Street by going to Dadeland Mall, which is a completely different animal from everything else.
Totally
that you've
different.
opened.
I didn't know anything about it.
How
honestly.
did the Dadeland Mall location
It's
differ?
actually downtown Dadeland.
Downtown Dadeland. I'm sorry.
So,
Which
not
again, I know I've been there, and
two different
Right.
things, because I honestly, when I thought
because
about
Guy
Dadeland,
was at Downtown Dadeland at the
Downtown
time, right?
Dadeland, yeah. So they were like, that's how I discovered downtown Dadeland.
Right.
I went to University of Miami, but like admittedly never really went to Dadeland. Like
Right.
I didn't go much further than like Sunset Place.
Right.
And like I went during, I think it was COVID when they were doing a pop-up.
Yep.
Niven was doing a pop-up thing in the Dadeland. And I was like, oh wow, like this is where Guy is.
Right.
this is this cool new thing.
It's cool. You had cool little streets and
sushi,
right. Jose was there. That's right.
There's some action here.
Yeah.
And it was like a cold email. I forget who the broker was.
Right.
But it was a broker who reached out to me after Portnoy.
Right.
And was like, hey, like, do you want to open in Dadeland? Like downtown Dadeland, we'll give you X. I was like, look, I need a bunch of months of free rent.
What was the space? What was there before?
Teriyaki Madness.
We've had experience with those guys. Yeah, they closed all the locations.
Yeah, I mean, it was a dump.
And it was I think a location that they were gonna open.
Situation of like, oh, this is second gen, right? Like,
but it
easy
wasn't
peasy,
right?
Not even close,
right?
No functioning AC. I had to put a new AC. The grease trap had to put in a new grease trap. Every piece of refrigeration, which was working when I went in, was bunk by the time that I went to open the restaurant, including the walk-in box. So I basically redid everything in that place. Cost $350,000 to open a pizza shop. Right
now, I know that you opened the pizza shop. Obviously, and was that the first one that replicated the concept?
Yeah, it was. But even then, I was like, you know what? Let's try something different.
Right.
Like downtown slice shop.
Right.
Dadeland sit down pizzeria. Right. Let's see what people like better.
But you know what pisses me off about fucking landlords, brokers, developers, all that? When you're like, hey, I want to do this concept. It's different in your space. They're like, well, why don't you do, 11th Street? Or why don't you do a Fooq's? Or why? Because they don't fucking get it, like about the creativity part and like what.
Got to feel right for you.
Right.
I hate being told by people but at the same time, like, it is part of the
You're
game.
going to do great here, but it's like, what are you talking about? My concept would never work here because the demographics are off, or like, but they don't, I guess sometimes they're just so into putting something with a name into the space. They're not even thinking, hey, is that concept even going to survive here?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different things that go into why something works out or doesn't, but it took me like probably like 9 months from when I had signed that lease, maybe more, a year to open it. And it was stressful, like hard. Right. You're doing it on your own budget, no investors, like we had some money from the government, and we maxed it out. And, the place is beautiful. But again, didn't end up being the right move. Right. Turned it into an over-the-counter place after, a year and a half of being in existence as like a sit-down place. Yep. Like people weren't reacting the way that I thought they were gonna, and like that's like something that you always like, and you can't be too proud, right? Like you got to know, like, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. But if it's broke, fix it. You know what I mean? If it's not doing what you want it to do, like pivot. Right. Analyze. Be honest with yourself. Why is my place not working? Am I gonna beat it like a dead horse, or am I gonna, try to come up with something new? Try something a little bit different. Right. And so since we did that, I think it's turned around the business a lot there. It's made it a lot easier. There's a lot less bad reviews. Like people are just overall enjoying it more. And like, there's like more fluidity across the brands, you know? But like still to this day, like whenever I open my next 11th Street, I think it'll be different than the ones that you see today. I think I might try another bigger sit down one, I might try one that's smaller and more like, I always want to try different things, see until you like land on something that like this is 100% what it's going to be, and keeping that open mind. And Fooq's was, to go back to what you were saying, like it's nothing like what it was, but it's also everything that it was.
Well, I mean, you went from, a place that was like turnkey, pretty much ready to go, second gen, to a place like Teriyaki Madness that, now it's second gen, but it's not move-in ready. And then you go to building a fucking monstrosity of a huge project from scratch. So, I mean, I got to tell you, what the fuck were you thinking, man?
Dude, honestly, blessed. Right. First, it was a blessing, this project. Best.
Like looking back now, you're a genius. You know what I mean? But like in 2021, like Little River was not,
incredibly just grateful for the whole opportunity. The team from Little River,
those guys showed with a pop-up that, oh shit, this works,
I mean, look, I remember, by the way, I did open Fifi in the interim, which was not a ground up, but it was the next closest thing. Right. It was like several millions of dollars, blew out.
Wow, I didn't realize that you put that much into it. I mean, the place is by far one of the best restaurants in New York.
over $2,500 a square foot in that
Right.
place. It was
And
crazy.
again, you double down again and you went French. Like
We went French, we went honest. You know, everything that all of our concepts, they're always honest.
Right.
It's always about like making things that feel authentic and that feel real, that I can like legitimately stand behind.
Right.
And, you know, pizza, being the New Yorker that I was, felt honest. Sushi, after having lived in Japan, felt honest.
Yep.
Fooq's was literally the expression of my soul on a plate. And then this was in honor of my mom,
right,
Fifi, and her favorite way of dining, which was in a French bistro next door to her house. And it was an ode to the Bilboquets and to the L'Ami Louise and to the places that kind of like brought us to where we are today. And
how emotional was that opening for you?
Super emotional.
Right.
Yeah, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do, by the way.
Right.
Because when we took it over, we thought second gen.
Right.
It was an old restaurant.
Right.
An old Italian restaurant that had been there since like the 50s. And we went in there and they had all these beautiful wood panelings on the walls and these cool old school refrigerators and a kitchen. And I was like, oh, this will be a little touch up, you know, maybe we keep the walls, maybe we even keep this bar. And bro, not the case.
Right. How long did it take you to open that up from the time you signed the lease?
So we were actually looking at that, believe it or not, before COVID.
Really? Okay.
We had a client.
The location is great.
Yeah, so we had a client at Sushi Noz who was having whiskey after dinner and was talking to my brother about wanting to open a bar on the Upper East Side. He's like, I need a place that I can just kick back and drink with my friends. Right. You know, somewhere close to the synagogue that we can walk to, close to where we all live, like we want to go our local watering hole for all intents and purposes. And we were like, look, my brother called me. He's like, this guy wants us to build him a bar. I was like, look, we're not bar guys. We're restaurant guys. So tell him if he builds us a restaurant, we'll build a bar upstairs. Right. And we told him that, and he was like, okay, let's go. I'll get a group of guys together. And they very quickly got, 10 investors together. And then we started, we started putting the word out that we wanted to do a restaurant bar on the Upper East Side. And one of our friends showed us this incredible space that had been literally around the corner from where Fifi, my mom, and where I grew up, where my mom lived her whole life. A place that I had passed 100 million times in my life. I never actually went to dine there. But we went in and we were like, wow, like this place is charming. Like these walls have soul, there's authenticity, there's a story here. And it feels like very much like L'Ami Louis or Fort Charles Prime Rib, where like it's like this like low ceiling, long and narrow room with an upstairs kind of feature that could add to the element of the experiential portion of this whole thing. And like I said, like those kind of restaurants were my mom's favorite food and my brother and I's favorite food. So when we went to make Fifi, we were like, how do we make a place that would respect and honor my mom, that she'd be incredibly proud of, serving the food that we love? And we're both obsessed with the Basque Country. We spend probably like too much time there. Yeah. But we were like, we want to bring the things that we love most about San Sebastian and the things that we love most about the Parisian bistro to the neighborhood that we call home. And we want to make it in a way that we think people are going to really receive it. And we know that the Upper East Side, people like to be seen. People are, they like to go to a place that feels refined, that feels proper. But at the same time, like nobody is doing that with the downtown touch, with like the youthful,
where it's
calling
cool,
out where the meat's coming from, caring responsibly about the product that you're sourcing. Like we like to say that the Upper East Side is like the land of like Cisco trattorias and Cisco brasseries, you know, and like historically that's been enough to get people by. And if you look at the Upper East Side of New York City, institution after institution after institution, nobody closes. Like there's no such thing as if you're a great restaurant, like you're there for 50 years, which was very reassuring for us. So when Vivolo closed, we're like, whoa, like this is a rare opportunity to get a potential gem of a space. And so we raised a couple $1 million and we started doing our studies and architectural studies and drilling into the walls. And we very, very quickly noticed that it was a gut job, like full on to the nails and studs, ripping out the floors of the apartments on top, redoing the plumbing, redoing the electrical, redoing the gas. We basically built it from scratch. And we actually we sold my mom's home, my childhood home, to be able to finish the project. So like we went into like
you went
all the
in.
money that I had in my name and my brother's name was this apartment that we had lived in our whole lives.
So this had to work.
This literally went down to the last cent of my bank account.
So how emotional was it for you? Okay, you had this grand opening, which everybody I know was talking about this place, but then like how emotional was it for you when you see a product that you create, as an honor to your mom, and everybody's receiving it so well? How did it make you feel? Like,
it's definitely been the biggest life changer in my opinion. Like the thing that changed my life the most, because we were like kind of pigeonholed before as like the pizza, little restaurant, sushi guys. You know, everybody always wants to tell you what you can't do.
Right.
Nobody ever wants to tell you what you can do. Like it takes a dreamer and somebody who like wants to defy what people tell them to like actually do great things. And it was so hard to raise money for that project. Like you wouldn't even imagine.
Right.
Like what kind of more of a sure bet could you ask for? Upper East Side, small space, great concept, great operators, but it was like twisting someone's arm to get them to join it. Now all of a sudden, people are probably who didn't get in on it are probably kicking themselves because it's
now you're the hot girl in school. That's what we like to call. Now everybody wants to take you out.
Very quickly showed people like, look, like these guys have breadth.
Right.
Like this is not just the small little one trick ponies.
Right.
Like these guys can really build something that's like will last the test of time. That's beautiful. That's well executed. Again, built a great team. Took a great deal. So like I started it pre-COVID.
Yep.
We were at signing day on March 15th and COVID happened. So we pulled out of the lease, which was a good decision.
Right. Agreed.
And then like a year later, the landlord called us up and was like, hey guys, like the space is still on the market. I'll give you a huge discount if you take it.
Okay.
And we were like, sure, like let's go.
But this is before you knew how much money you
knew
put,
how
right?
much. So we thought we were being slick.
Right.
And by the way, we ended up going, like $3 million over budget on this project, which if you count how much money I saved in rent, doesn't even sniff it.
Right.
If I had known, I would have paid triple the rent to not have dealt with that headache.
Right.
But it was actually really important because it taught us resiliency. Like we got robbed on that project. I had a contractor steal $250,000 from me. I had another upholsterer steal like 75 grand from me. Everything that could have gone wrong, from like the city, like the city, the gas people to the FP to the power people to every single possible thing, to my neighbor, to my landlord. Like it was just one of those where it's like you could have thrown in the towel and just said fuck it.
How many times did you want to actually throw the towel in?
A lot, honestly. Like it was getting depressing. Like there was a point where we were both like, this place is just never gonna open.
Did you feel like a pregnant woman at the opening? It's like everybody's congratulating you, but didn't realize how many times you were fucked before you got pregnant?
Definitely. I didn't think about it like that, but yeah, I did. I guess I did feel like that.
Right.
I mean, I definitely was. I was petrified.
Yep.
We made ourselves sick. With my brother. Like we worked so hard, and then I moved to New York for all of the winter last year. It was my first winter in New York since high school.
Yep.
I was there for 6 months, like in a little tiny 500-foot hole in the wall apartment, like just doing it.
But it's like, look, you came from New York to Miami, you made it in Miami, you went back to New York, you made it in New York. And now, again, like this project that you're doing now, again, I think everybody thought you were fucking nuts.
Yeah, definitely. But now looking back at this one,
right.
It's like the first time that I actually have had an amazing landlord.
Right.
A landlord who's like, they're not technically, partners, but act like it.
I mean, shout out to Matthew Vanderwerf, AJ Capital, Kyle,
Montgomery Turner, my dog.
Big time. Monty's making shit happen there, man.
Number one, this guy.
Yeah.
I honestly love him. He's become a dear friend.
And those guys get it. Like
they get it. They do it the right way.
Right.
They show support. They're there for you when you call.
Right.
They're not going to tell you to get fucked, if you need to get something fixed.
Right.
Like,
they're also not those landlords who are like, all right, I need a tenant that's going to do $7 million. And like, no, like that's not how it works. No. It's, you bring in you curate the real estate the right way. You bring in cool concepts. You make them anchors. You give them a break. Then you raise rents on other people. You don't like come in and say like
100%.
I need you to do 10 million of my
Monty,
property.
you know, like Matthew obviously started it. Matthew's got an unbelievable eye for
this
talent.
project was his legacy, man.
It was his legacy, and he killed it, and he changed a lot of our lives, and I'm forever indebted and grateful to the guy, and I love him and his family, and Ashley and
Ash,
the kids.
the Abbas family, absolutely, man.
Amazing family, great people, and they like had a vision, you know, and they were non-compromising on the vision.
And it was like, hard to be.
Anybody could go, like if you look at the design district, you look at Wynwood, you look at Brickell, like anybody can go out and just like get Zuma and get Nobu and get La Petite Maison and get Amazonico and get, you know, all these pasties, all these big out of town operators who are not Miami people. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that.
And they stay true to the concept.
But they wanted to create by the locals for the locals.
Right. They didn't want to just lease out space to lease out space. They were very particular who they leased out space to.
Very, very, very particular. And you know, it was amazing because it really allowed them to keep great talent. And like now, like it's not a coincidence that Matthew's 3 favorite restaurants, Jaguar Sun, Fooq's, and Michelin, are all in one way, shape, or the other in his neighborhood. You know, and big testament to them. And they made the lease negotiation portion of it not that big of a headache, which
I mean, might have taken a long time.
No,
but
it actually didn't.
Really?
It was fastest lease I've ever signed.
Really?
Yeah, it was like it was easy because like when you have aligned interest, you know, like that's the thing is like if you're a landlord, a lot of landlords are like betting for you to fail. They're like, I want to collect the security deposit.
I want to take that second gen space and rent it for double. But like, look, you know, you still have Lucali, you still have Jose Mendin, you still have
Bebe,
True
big shout out,
and you know Bebe, and you know,
for those of you who haven't been, go.
Tiger's the fucking man, bro.
Tiger's the man.
Love Tiger.
He's doing all the right things. The food is great. Service is great. The place is spectacularly beautiful. It's done with so much taste.
I think it took
by the locals
for the locals, right? And I think, listen, it took time, but you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think again, like your project, like I've seen pictures and videos of the new Little River location, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like it's a gem. You didn't cheap out on that.
No, we didn't. We got also very lucky that, you know, Sonny's paved the way. They were obviously the first people to take the risk during COVID, and they showed proof of concept. They showed that like you can. It's funny because people used to say that that's what I did in downtown. You know, I took the BMW, Rolls Royce, Fisher Island crowd to downtown Miami. Right. These guys did the same thing to Little River. Right. They brought the same crowd, and from the very first time that I went to Sonny's when it was a pop-up, it felt like it was my restaurant in the sense that I couldn't sit down to eat because every single table that was coming,
you knew everybody,
was one of my regulars from Fooq's or one of my friends. So I was like walking around the room, shaking hands, kissing babies, and I was like, this is a light on aha moment.
But that's also the thing is like, you know, I think for the people that aren't from Miami and who come here, because I already called, especially this, I think this week alone, 10 people called me like, hey, do you have an Inn at Sonny's? Do you have an Inn at Sonny's? I was like, guys, I don't even fucking have an Inn at Sonny's. People are like, dude, you promote them so much. I'm like, yeah, because it's the best restaurant. But my point being that I think what people from out of town don't get, what made it so special was that you are outside and you feel like you're on vacation, but you know every single table and you're saying what's up to everybody the whole night.
Yeah, they did a great job of, you know, like carrying over their community, right? And that's something that I intend on doing. And
I mean, also, I think that Aaron Brooks was by far one of the most underestimated chefs.
For sure.
And the fact that Will and Carrie got him. And I mean, he's
a wonderful guy.
He was the missing piece, I think.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously seeing them put up real numbers. Right. Like
proof of concept.
Proof of concept. That was big. And then them paving the way to become partners with AJ and AJ building them this big, beautiful restaurant. You know, at the time it was nothing. It was it was just an outdoor pop-up.
Yeah, there was no kitchen.
When I was
right. You remember they used to cook the steaks on wood fire.
You know, they told me like, look, we're gonna build this big, beautiful, incredible place for Sonny's.
Right.
Had they not been working towards that, I would have been probably a little bit suspicious of the whole thing.
Right.
Because it really is a huge lift. You know, and again, by the way, way over budget.
Right.
But again, the whole concept of these projects, which is also something that's like very important to remember to like anybody who's like trying to get into the restaurant business or trying to build a massive restaurant or just trying to build any sort of restaurant, is these things take time.
Right.
It's a lifetime achievement to open a restaurant like Sunny's or Fooq's. It's something that it does not, like you said, did not get built in a day, in a week.
Right. I mean, we're watching guys from Europe just come in, drop 20 million and open, whether it fails or goes.
And by the way, like when we first were doing bids, we were going to just do an adaptive reuse. We were going to keep what was there. It was this old warehouse, and we went all the way to master permit as an adaptive reuse. Took a year and a half of drawing and developing and concept until the GC bid came in.
Right.
And it was way over what we had all signed up for and we were all expecting.
Right.
And
now I have a question for you because of with that. Now, was it because you were getting GCs bid out? Because I find a lot of GCs, they'll give you a bid, but then just to win the bid, they give you the lowest price. But then when you make any changes, that's where they kind of get you.
Well, there was definitely a part of like, they always will tell you that they can get it done at a certain price. And then to their credit, they don't really know, right? Like until like
do you want a Ford or do you want a Ferrari? Like,
I can build a restaurant for $500 a foot.
Right.
I could build it for $5,000 a foot.
Right.
It's like, just what do you want, right? But so like that learning experience of having understood, hey, this is going to be a lot harder than what we expected. This is going to require us busting down the whole building. We're going to demolish the whole thing. I remember when the guy from AJ, or not the guy, he worked technically from AJ, Rick Hernandez, also shout out my boy. When he told me, he's like, David, don't have a heart attack.
Yep.
But we got to demolish this building and start from scratch. I was like, I went and I talked to all my friends in construction and they were like, dude, that's 2 years minimum.
Right.
Minimum.
Right.
And I had investors, I had raised, money. Talk about hard money to raise.
Right.
Possible.
Right.
Even though I was promising this incredible place that is now going to be a palace.
Right.
The architectural gem. People were like, no, it's going to take forever. And by the way, thank you to my investors for sticking.
I mean, not a lot of investors would, right?
And not asking questions, just having blind faith that I'm doing my best. Right.
Did you have to explain to them like, hey, I got to bring the gas in from the street?
I mean, look, like all of them saw it from the beginning and they saw it from when it was what it was. And, I thought we were going to open maybe in 2022, 2023.
Right.
Here we are going into 2026, and just now maybe opening, for New Year's Eve.
Right.
But that sticking to it, not being afraid of change, not being afraid of also like who you get into bed with, right? Like these landlords, like
it's
Matthew
a marriage.
was my friend,
right?
And like when we sat down to open Fooq's, him and Kyle, they sat me down, they asked me, they said, David, like, what's your dream restaurant?
Right.
We want to build you your dream restaurant.
Right.
And I dreamed up what is Fooq's today sitting at Michelin, funny enough.
Right.
And
shout out to Parolo.
Yeah, shout out to Parolo again, my boy. And it was like one of those moments where I was like, aha.
Right.
Like you work towards something, you don't let anything stop you. And I could have, again, at that point when the towel was going to go in, when we're gonna have to demolish, throwing the towel in. I said, I can't wait around. I had an easy way out. I could have easily said, guys, like, no, I hadn't spent much money on the project yet, but we stuck through it, and I got to learn how to build the building from scratch, which is probably the most valuable lesson you could ever learn in life. And I don't know if I'll be building my home. I think I want to maybe move into an easy second generation house one
100%.
But, I love building the restaurant.
Right.
And I think that, like, had you asked me, like, and still to this day, like, I'm a little torn between the second gen versus the first gen, right? Because, like,
what are your advantages and disadvantages?
If you have the right landlord partner who understands that he's the one getting the terminal value of the work that you're putting in.
Absolutely.
And that they're going to pay that back in the form of, rent abatements, tenant improvements, and just general, whether it be form of percentage rent, or when they become implicated on the business,
right?
And they think that what's best for you is what's best for them,
right?
is the foundation of success.
Because they need skin in the game.
Yeah,
right.
They need skin in the game. Because like if it's what's best for you is what's worse for me, that's the friction in the business, right? Like that's how it mostly is. And these guys really rewrote the script. And AJ Capital, it's not their first neighborhood that they've done this in, and being able to like trust that the whole team. I had an unbelievable GC, which again, the whole thing ended up costing more, but like so many things, by the way, where 2020 inflation alone has gone up. 2021 construction costs versus today, I mean, you can't even compare. Forget pre-COVID, but everything has gone up. And the Red Door Construction, Gal Ben Sadoun,
we know Gal.
Shout out to Gal. He's amazing. Same guys that built Sonny's and a lot of other beautiful restaurants in Miami.
Who designed it?
My restaurant was designed by Join Studios.
Okay.
So they're the same girls that did Chez Fifi.
Okay.
I met them through Fransen.
Yep.
The 3-star Michelin in Stockholm.
Yep.
I had been friends with one of the chefs from Fransen, and I was with a Swedish. My ex was Swedish,
right?
Danielle, and we went to Sweden, and we went to eat at Fransen one day, and I was just blown away by the old school townhouse kind of feel of the place. It was charming yet classic and very like experiential.
Right.
Like you started out in this beautiful room with meat dry agers all around you and this kind of like weird minimalistic thing, and then you go into the elevator that's like blasting AC/DC that takes you to the attic where you sit down and they roll you a champagne cart, and then there's a beautiful display with all the food where you see what you're gonna eat, and you just have this really special experience. And I was like, wow, these women really know what they're doing.
Right.
I got put in touch with them. And at the time, Fooq's Miami wasn't a thing. It was to maybe do a Fooq's New York, like pre-COVID. And we exchanged numbers. I flew out to Stockholm to meet them, had a great feeling with them. It's 3 women that are best friends, worked together for 20, 30 years. I don't know exactly how many, but a lot. And it was like a family op, and me and my brother, we loved that. Like, they weren't sisters, but like they look like sisters, and they basically are, So they, when it was time to open Fooq's, I gave them a call. They signed up, and like simultaneously, Fifi was happening, and the designers who we had lined up pre-COVID for Fifi, post-COVID, we no longer wanted to work with them. And I called Join, and I was like, "You guys want to do a 2-for deal? Like." You do 2 restaurants in America. That way, it'll be better for you. It'll be better for everyone. Like you can focus more of your energy here and come spend more time here and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And they did. And Fifi came out spectacular. And then, my brother and I, we always like, now that we've built these restaurants enough times, we have like renderings, like in the development stage.
Right.
And I got a great guy who does renderings. And every time, like once the restaurant is done, you're sitting there, and like we joke that we're like sitting in the renderings, like that's how close
like the virtual goggles, like those virtual
goggles. That's a whole nother thing.
Right.
My architect Gilbert Attic, he took me on the virtual reality tour of Fooq's 3 years ago, which was incredible. That was really an unbelievable experience. But like literally just like an image, like you're sitting in that image when you're in the restaurant. Like,
that's awesome.
The table looks like it's supposed to look. The light is exactly where it needs to be. Like, wow, and these women have done an unbelievable job of pivoting when they needed to. Because like obviously like your things original changed, intent is never what it's going to end up being, whether it be budgetary, whether it be because you can't use a certain material, whether it be a operational flaw. Like, to be a good designer, like you really got to think on your feet. You got to be able to make changes. You got to be able to make day 2 changes. So like we're still going through that process right now. Like we're pretty much in the day 2 phase right now, where we're just finishing all the things that we weren't able to like originally account for. And getting it ready to open.
I'm really excited. I think what you guys are going to bring to the neighborhood is really special. But you have all of this on your plate. So what does the future hold for Fooq's and for you? And
well, Fooq's is going to be a big, exciting, really life-changing for me personally. I met like the person of my dreams.
Congrats.
Liza, she's amazing.
Isn't it funny when you meet that special someone, like how
nothing else matters?
That's it. And your mindset just becomes different.
She said to me one thing that like, I've lived my whole life with like terrible anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm an anxious person.
Yeah, me too.
I'm very chill. Like if you might perceive me as pretty chill.
Right.
But I have a lot of anxiety. I bite my nails
Right.
too much. And, you know, like I got restless leg. I have a hard time, like it's like an ADD. Anxiety.
You got to roll over the place.
You got to be all over the place. And, you know, like everyone else, like I have a fear that things aren't going to work out.
Right.
You know, like it'd be crazy to tell, like, yeah, I'm batting 1,000, but like any day, anything could go wrong.
Right.
You know, any day, one of my restaurants could stop being great, or could just people stop wanting to go. And then I'd down one, you know, and I was all, and like, I've always like wanted to deliver, you know, and Liza loves to cook.
Right.
And she's a full, like career long restaurant person also. So she could like run a room, she could cook, she took over Thanksgiving duties for me this year, which was hard to let go of, but she blew it away. But she said to me, she's like, babe, like worst case, like we go open a restaurant on an island somewhere, just the two of us with our kids.
Right.
And I was like, wow, like.
That's exactly what you wanted to hear.
Yeah. Like, cause I know me and her could do it anyway. Right. Like as long as I had a little bit of money, if I had to go open a fish shack on some Caribbean island.
Yep.
Okay, with the love of my life, my child, you know, like there's certain things like, yeah, do I want to turn We All Gotta Eat into $1 billion company? Absolutely.
Right.
My dream is, you know, we used to joke around that, you know, we call ourselves Minor Food Group,
right?
You know, because we have all these, you know, like
I like that.
I love everything they do, you know, like obviously they're at the pinnacle.
100%.
Them and a couple other awesome people, Steven Starr and people who we idolize in this business, who have just done everything so successfully and just with such like class and greatness. And Major Food were like the first people, in my opinion, that like showed that you can like actually be great at multiple core competencies. You know, I'm sure they had every VC in the world telling them carbone,
everything.
You know, and look, 10 years later, maybe now they're going more on carbone, but like, you know what, like.
But they won't sell themselves out. Like, for example,
Sadel's is the best concept in the whole portfolio. You know,
I'm a Teresi guy. I'm a Teresi guy.
Amazing.
And
you
know what? It's like same thing. They said they'll never do a Teresi in Miami.
Yeah,
maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But
maybe
you know,
they will. But like, look,
the dollars right.
They know better than we know.
100%.
You know, like they know what works for them. And like, look, there is a thin line where like it becomes too much.
Right.
Like where you are your own biggest competitor.
Right.
Right. Like at sushi, you know, like. Noz 17 was $500. Sushi Noz was $550, and Noz Market was $175. It's like I was eating my own customer, so like I've had to, you know, Noz 17 became a little bit of a different concept. It's $250 now.
Right.
Noz Market is $75 to $125. So like you don't want to be like taking your own, you know, you don't want to take your own, you don't cannibalize your own business, right? So like, I mean, I don't know how many covers Major Food Group has in the city, but you know, on any given night, I'm sure that they're sitting, you know, 2,000-3,000 people, maybe more a day.
Easy.
But
they also operate like a fucking machine.
They are, but like you do the math, like there's not that many people in Miami. It's a small place, right? So like I understand, like don't want to bring a Teresi here to take away from Carbone and Dirty French and Sadel's and Carbone Vino and this, whatever it is, you know. But like I totally would give it all to be able to have that kind of success, and that's what we're working towards. You know, like I want to be able to share this dream that I have and all these restaurants that I have with all the places that I love. Like I always wanted, like my dream, or like my first childhood dream was like New York, LA, Miami.
Right.
And we're opening Sushi Noz in LA.
Amazing. Congrats.
So that's actually the next project. That's also a pre-COVID one that started pre-COVID and is now maybe going to open in the fall. But like that was like a really cool start. I'm a little bit less hyped about just like when I was a kid, like I had this idea of LA, you know, like LA's changed a lot.
Right.
But I'm like a little bit less hyped of like bringing all of my concepts to that city. Like, do I think that we will end up doing something like that if things go well with Sushi Noz? For sure.
Right.
Do I think that there's other markets out there that I would like to be in before LA? In theory, yeah. Like I'd love to be in Vegas.
Right.
Vegas is the dream.
But is Vegas the paycheck for you? Or
no,
is it?
I love Las Vegas. Like for me, if you're in hospitality and the restaurant business and you don't love Las Vegas, like there's something substantially wrong with you, you know, like, yeah, you could be a hater. Oh, and the glamorous this and the douchey that. It's like, dude, you live in Miami.
Right.
Like
It doesn't get douchier. It doesn't get douchier than Miami.
The workforce is unbelievable.
Right.
Find me a place where people want to be in hospitality more than in Las Vegas.
And fine dining, right?
Every experience you have, whether it's off strip, or at the new restaurant in the Wynn, or at the new restaurant in that, you have a server who gives a shit, who's there to work. He's not there to dilly dally.
Right.
He's not going to Vegas to go to the casinos. He's not working in Vegas to go gamble.
Right.
He's working because he understands, or she's working because she understands that this is where hospitality matters. This is where people are coming. They're honoring you by spending their money to literally just come and eat and drink.
Right.
And take advantage of the entertainment that's there. Right. So like for me, Vegas, dream market.
Right.
Like, does it hurt that there's a lot of beautiful management deals and people make a lot of money there? No, obviously, like that's great. Why would you not want to do that?
Right.
But again, you go to Carbone, like Carbone Las Vegas, for me is my favorite Carbone.
Right.
You know, like I think it's the best one. It's super grandiose. I love the private rooms.
They're opening a new one, right? I think.
Yeah, it looks insane.
Was it Caesars?
Carbone Riviera in the Bellagio.
Right.
They opened like a couple weeks ago. It looks sick.
It's going to be on my
it's one of those,
to-do list.
Another one of those things where it's like, when you're great, you're always like one step ahead, right? Like this Carbone Riviera project, like I would have, like if I was them, like this would have been a natural thing, like Carbone, but a little lighter, right? Like how do I take, things, because there's like, not every concept works for everything, but Carbone's a really wonderful brand. Like I personally can't go to Carbone more than a couple times a year because, I can only eat so much veal parmesan and rigatoni and like heavy food, right? But like I could lighten it up a little bit, add some Mediterranean touches, put on something new, put it on the water, make it really unique and cool and different, and boom, like genius.
But I think Major Food Group is an anomaly. I mean, like, why do you think that a lot of these big names with big budgets come to Miami and don't make it? Like we got Gordon Ramsay opened, Lucky Cat opened Hell's Kitchen, and we saw how that went. A lot of other guys, I don't want to mention their names because I don't want to be a hater or whatever it is. They opened, they came in here with steam, and they're not doing the type of numbers they thought they were.
Well, look, these guys, like I think that, like first of all, like Jeff, I don't know if he lives here or not, but I know he spends a shitload of time here.
What was the last name?
Yeah,
he lives. I think he's in Miami Beach. Yeah.
I know Mario spends a lot of time here.
Mario, yep.
I know Jonah spent a lot of time here.
Yep.
And like, let's be real, like Upland was an unreal space.
Yeah, Steven Starr,
like when they took over Carbone, like when Carbone took that over, like
it was brilliant.
That's the dream second gen restaurant. Some guy
what did they do? Upholster the furniture, paint the walls,
into it, and it's brand new. It's got everything you need. All you got to go do is Carbonify it.
Right.
Genius.
Which
I bet you. By the way,
job.
I bet you it wasn't cheap.
Definitely wasn't cheap.
They put a lot of money into that place. It looks like it. But yeah, I mean, these guys, they're professionals.
I mean,
right? Like
Zelaznik's a finance guy.
No, he's not. He's a restaurant guy. His family is finance people. But he's Jeff.
What I'm saying is he knows the numbers. He's not a stupid guy.
But he's also just like a tastemaker, right? And like every great restaurant group, like they require tastemakers, right? People like Steven Starr, like I don't know him personally, but I know from what I hear about him is that he's like so anal about every little last detail. He's busting everyone's chops all the time. He's going into his restaurants and he doesn't like the dimming. He'll freak out at someone.
Right.
With, oh, this light here, this here, and then being there, and then like leading by example.
Well,
right? Like
Makoto's doing great numbers.
But like having a being here in Miami,
right?
If you're not
being on site,
right. And like really hitting home the fact, like. Major Food Group feels like a local brand now.
It does.
You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a lot of familiar faces like on the staff, like a lot of the servers, a lot of the somms are either have jumped around from one of their restaurants or came from other great local establishments. And it feels like they had a pulse and they weren't just like throwing a dart and thinking, oh, Miami is a hot new city, like they were like pointed darts.
And they came in during COVID. They came in at the right time when people were out of work, and they hired the best.
They made the best real estate plays.
100%.
Like which is what it also always comes down to.
Right.
Like look no further.
Yep.
And it takes to make a good real estate play, it takes knowing. Like it takes trying and tasting and being and living there, right? Like I don't want to knock Gordon Ramsay, but like what, like what does he know about Miami? Like comes here once, on a Once for
during
food
Art
and
Basel
wine,
or
you
for
know,
food and wine,
you know,
Sophie
like
Food and Wine, right.
the guy's got $1 billion company,
Right. Million restaurants.
Like if you had to ask me, like, yeah, I probably have my odds that guy's going to fail.
Right.
You know, like, but then, you know, like I also want out of towners to be able to be successful and be able to put their best foot forward.
No, I'm happy Rayo's is doing good numbers. I'm happy that, you know, like Catch is giving it a go again. And, you know, and again, I always wish everybody a quadrillion dollar. I want everybody to make all the money in the world. It's just like, it's just sad to me when you see groups with unlimited funds and, you know, just go in and take spaces and like it works, it does, when there's, and doesn't. And then you have these operators who like literally like that we know they're click, you know, part of the scene and part of the clique. And it's like, they can't open a place to save their life. You know, it's
totally. I mean, like, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of things going the right way, but at the same time, I credit the like I guess the Renaissance, or not, I mean, I guess not a Renaissance, it's the first uprising of Miami food greatness.
Yes.
I owe it a lot to those guys who came in and failed. Right. You know, like I have a HR director who worked for Ramsey.
Right.
And you know, like she's wonderful. She learned from a super corporate company that does this around the world, that she picked up a lot of really, like, whether or not the place is doing great, I don't know, not my business, but she learned a lot from a guy who clearly knows what he's doing. Right. You know, like whether we like Gordon Ramsay's restaurants or not, like he's a bajillionaire and he's figured it out and he clearly has good systems in place. Right. And so like all these big names, whether it be Robuchon, you know, these are things, this is what changes the psyche, and it's the people that those people bring down that end up becoming the seeds that are needed to be able to lift the city up, you know.
But do you feel that like some, you know, and again, we both know that there's still a lot of names that haven't been announced that are still coming in, but do you feel that that budget and those numbers where they're used to paying big rents is going to squeeze out the local small operators where we won't be able to afford rents?
I don't think so. No. I don't think so. I think that those guys are going for what they're going for. Yeah. You know, like who else is going to open it where Amazonico opened? Right. You know, where they spent $70 million. Oh my
God. I mean, it's like sexy fish.
But like what kind of local, but like at the same time, I think Amazonico, I haven't been to this one. When I went to the one in Madrid, it was like mind blowing the first time. Right. I was like, holy shit. Right. These people built a jungle in the middle of Madrid with a sick bar club, a sick wood-fired kitchen, a really tastefully done menu. Right. By the way, the guy who owned that company, the original guy, he owned 10 con 10, that whole street that he turned around in Madrid. Like now I think they're owned by like the Saudi investment fund or one of these big, you know, one of the big things from the Middle East, I think, that invested a bunch of money into the company.
But do you think it's going to be one of those restaurants like a Sexy Fish, though? It's like, okay, you go there once, you take a few pictures, you know, because I feel that's what Miami's turned into. It's like people just want what's new and hot, and then they're like over it.
I think that like it may have that happen to it, but at the same time, like that place is giving so many jobs to people,
which I'm super happy about.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like think about how many people are going to work in that place. Right. That's like 250 people who now have jobs.
But do we have enough people to sustain all those places?
I mean, I think so. Right. I think so. Like, look, we're building all these buildings, you know, we're not just building luxury towers in Miami. Like if you look at Little River, AJ Capital, 100%. Like hats off, they're partnering with the Swordlows in the city of Miami. And on either side of the Little River conglomerate, you know, there's 30 acres and then there's 30 acres on one side and 30 acres on the other side. That's going to be governmental housing.
And I think Matthew also bought that AT&T building by the Citadel, which they're going to turn into affordable housing for our local workers. And
so like clearly there's a need, you know, like my workers in downtown, like the hardest thing that I have found, which I think is still probably like one of the things that's like killing downtown, is that like nobody lives in downtown. Right. Workers can't live there. First of all, like Overtown is like not a healthy place to live for the most part.
Not where I want to raise my kids.
Not where you want to raise your kids. And if you're drawing from, do I think that Overtown is an incredibly important place with a lot of history,
yeah,
and has like a vital role in downtown's ability to become great? Yeah, 100%.
And I think they could still have a future.
Like, I can tell you, like, the people who I'm like hiring, you know, because like when you're hiring, most of the time you need people who can get on their bike and go to your job, you know, or like at the very least, if they have a car, which I don't know how anybody can afford a car on you know, busser, you know, server salaries, assistant, even, you know, if you're a captain at the best restaurant in Miami and you're making 6 figures,
or your wife like, or a Joe's,
you can afford your car, you know, but like you need to pull from your neighborhood a lot, you know, and I think that the Sonny's, Fooq's, Little River area, there's a lot of industry housing there. Right. A lot of people live, in the $1,500 to $2,000 a month range for rent. There's like a lot of small houses. There's a lot of places where people can room up. There's a lot of small apartment buildings in that whole area. So like the employee pool is actually pretty high. Right. Like, and it's easy to get someone to go to work. Like in downtown, like there's nowhere to pull from. Right. Like, where do these people like?
Well, it's funny because I had Mendine on here the other day, and we were talking about, because, Jose and Zach the Baker, like all those guys live in my neighborhood, and we're so happy that you're opening because it's like we don't have to go downtown. We don't have to go to Miami Beach. We could stay local and have a great experience, and it's still super cool.
Yeah, that's the goal, is to like, but again, we're blessed. Right. We're blessed that there's a lot of industry people, chefs that live in the area that want, like downtown, like, there's like 3 towers, but like, first of all, almost nobody lives in those towers. Let's be real. Yep. Maybe Marquee is like the one that like people live in the most.
Oh yeah, the OnlyFans building.
But those or like the one with the duplexes, the one next to the
Thousand Museum.
Yeah. Yep. That one people really live in. 10 Museum. Yep. A lot of my regulars from Fooq's were people that live in that building. But like all those other buildings on Biscayne, all the way to like 50 Biscayne.
Right. It's all construction.
It's all construction.
Right. I mean, and it's, by the way, if you're gonna have
extremely expensive.
Yes, it's not cheap.
And if you go a little bit more west, like you're not going to live in, like most people are not going to live in Overtown.
Right.
It's like, it's very, very hard.
Right.
To pull people. Right. So I think that like the lack of, if anything, Miami needs to invest in more public transportation, which is a killer. That's something that it is already biting us in the ass, like every day, the restaurants that are doing great, it's like, wow, like I'm doing great. Right. Guess what? Now there's nowhere for my employees to park. Right. There's nowhere for me to put a car for my guests. Like my employees can't walk to work because they can't park 10 minutes away because it's maybe unsafe to walk from there to there, or at least perceived to be. Right. So, these are the things that go into, like, I think that those operational issues are more of a problem than like other great restaurants or other big names coming. Because like for me, when another big name comes, that usually means that they're coming with their director of operations, their food and beverage person, their service director, who are, by the way, if the place fails, they're going to be coming to work for me after. Right. So like bring them on, and
it's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah. It's like bring me more talent. Right. Like that's the problem. Miami is a talent problem. Right. And now that's now no longer a problem. Like I'm hiring probably like close to 100 people at Fooq's. And almost every single, I'm at about like 15, 20, all upper level management is hired. I wouldn't want to say the easiest because nothing is easy.
Of course.
But so much easier than finding management in New York these days. Like finding talent in a place like New York where there's so much competition. There's, and like, of course there's a lot of great people, but like, it's so expensive. Also, you can't live in Manhattan. Right. So at least people can elect to schlep it from Queens or
Long Island City,
Bronx
Brooklyn,
or Brooklyn, whatever, which God bless them. We need those people to do that. And there is like, people are so much tougher in New York, like, an hour-long train ride back and forth from work, like
all day long, right?
All day long, Here it's like, I had to get on 95, 2 exits. Can you believe it? I was sitting in, I'm like, come on. It took me
so long.
A little, show me some, little toughness, guys, but I think that bringing what's happened with all these great restaurants and Miami having this this renaissance again, what we want to call it. It's like the employees, upper level management people are like licking their chops to come to Miami,
right.
you know, like, and this is a PSA, you know, to all employees at restaurants around the country. Miami is a great place to come and live.
Right.
Still affordable, low state tax, great restaurants, a lot of jobs. There's 5 new epic hotels opening in South Beach. You got the Raleigh, the Amman, the Delano, the Shore Club, the Casa Cipriani, you know, like this place, and we need more people, right?
Absolutely.
So like if you, and then that like filters down,
right? Like
it starts at the top. Like you can't have great cooks if you don't have great chefs, you know, like great chefs make great cooks,
right?
Like great cooks just don't make themselves.
Right.
Like a cook is just like anybody else at the entry level of their position or their career. They don't really know what they're doing. They're looking for some guidance. Some of them are just looking for a paycheck, but like actually committing, investing time and building talent and building a community of people who are here for the right reasons.
Right.
Like that is what's going to make that's what Miami needs. And I wouldn't look at these out-of-towners as a threat. I would just look at them as a necessary evil, right. And not even an evil. Just let's hope that more good places open up.
Okay.
You know?
Fair enough. So the most important question I have, and the final question for you, is Mr. Fooq. Here on Just a Tip, I like to ask people what their favorite things are, certain categories.
Yes.
Since now we went on the subject of locals and out-of-towners, I think we're going to keep it a little local.
Yeah, let's keep it local.
And want to ask you, what are your top restaurants in Miami that are, let's just say, hidden gems? Things that, you know, most, you know, people that check into a hotel, not necessarily the places the concierges would recommend to them, but places that, like, when you're off, what are your go-tos?
You know, it's like with social media now, it's like so hard to like have hidden gems still.
Right.
You know, but like there's still a few places where people haven't caught on, in my opinion. I also like I said, like I love the people. You know, I'm in this business for the people.
Right.
And I love other people who are giving it their best and who are mom and pop type business owners.
100%. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got today?
I would say number 1, Ricky's Thai.
Oh, Ricky Thai on 125th Street,
North
Miami.
1. Like I at least once a week.
Hands down. Stop telling people that shit, because then I'm going to have to fight for my pad thai.
Did you see that new building that they put up next to it?
I mean, that was related, I think.
And I'm not going to, there's some really exciting things going on there. I'm not going to blow. So Giuliano is so grateful for this man.
Right.
Him and his wife started this business, I want to say close to 15 years ago. When I went to FIU, I would stop there on my way home I was at FIU North. I would stop there and and at the time, like I had my only experience with Thai food was like Moon Thai in the dorms in South Miami across from University of Miami. And I think in high school, I don't even think I ever ate Thai food.
What are your go-tos at Ricky Thai?
So
what are your top?
I would sit there with him, and he would when he'd open the store up, there'd be no one in this place. It was him and his wife and his son, Ricky, doing his homework in the back.
Right.
And he'd talk to me for an hour about the restaurant business. Tell me how he would go to buy the food at Jetro and buy the best chicken and buy the best meat, and how he would no antibiotics, and how he would train and food costing, and just like he was such a sweet Italian man, you know, and his wife was so wonderful, and her mom was in the kitchen. So he taught me how to eat spicy.
Right.
I didn't eat spicy before that. I'd say the go-to dishes there are the nam sad, which is like the cold pork salad.
Yep.
It's like ginger, scallions, chilies, delicious, peanuts. That with a little sticky rice and a lettuce cup is amazing.
Yep.
The pork riblets, he does this tamarind sauce that's just lights out. It's addicting, like fish sauce, tamarind caramel situation where you just dip the little pork riblets, the little like chuletón thingies.
Right. And they still don't do delivery.
No. But
it's crazy.
If you're lucky, you could call an Uber and maybe they'll go pick it up for you if you know the team. But I love it there. The Pad CU.
Yep.
They use these incredible fresh rice noodles that this guy makes up in like Hollandale Beach.
Yep.
Some Chinese guy who's got a factory where he's making incredible noodles. Now that I'm gluten free, I crave pasta,
Right.
you know, and he does those rice noodles are gluten free, and like you don't miss pappardelle for a second when you eat these noodles. So
all right, fair enough.
I think that's amazing. And then I think the crispy duck curry. I like to do it with the Penang curry, but you could do it with it comes with red. But the crispy duck is fried to perfection. It's just he nails it every time.
Ricky Tai, we love you.
Ricky Tai, we love you.
What do we got for number 2?
Number 2, Sushi Erica.
You fucking gone and done it.
Michio, I was definitely a mentor of mine. Erica's dad from the Japanese market. When I came to Miami, there was no sushi.
Right.
Pretty much. Japanese market was one of the only places. Naue had just opened. And Michio and Erica used to work in that little and on the front over there, and Mayumi would be running the deli,
right? In
true Japanese fashion. You know, she ran the business and the husband made the food,
right?
And the daughter took over the business,
right.
and Michio. I was so blessed. I don't know why they took such a liking to me. Probably because I was so passionately and like I showed so much love for their culture and respect, and I was always asking questions, but like. They would take me to dinners at their Japanese friend's home and like introduce me to people as their son.
Yep.
Which was an unbelievable experience to learn.
A compliment right
it was
there,
a compliment.
Yeah.
And Michio became my golfing partner.
Yep.
So we used to play golf all the time together. And when sadly when he passed away after Japanese market had closed, which is, by the way, the number one reason why I want to keep working, because when you lose your drive, you know, whatever it is, like. Find something always to keep you excited.
Hungry, right?
Stay hungry, because at some point your body is just going to say, whoa, like I've been putting up all these defenses all these years, working so hard to do this. All of a sudden I don't need to do it. I'm out.
Right.
You know, and he left us early.
Right. With
no, real health issues.
It's so incredible though that she kept the business up. And
so yeah, she kept the business. So it was perfect timing, because Michio got to help her with the site selection of the new place. And Sushi Erica, I think it opened. I think he passed away during the construction period.
Right.
But like I'll never forget, she gave me a box of pink Pro V1s that her dad had given her that had said Sushi Erica on them. And like that's my lucky, like that sits in my room still to this day. Like I honor this man.
Right.
I love him.
What are your favorite things at Sushi Erica?
The David roll.
The David roll. I obviously. Well, for people that don't know, why don't you?
It's crispy shrimp, avocado, mango, and dynamite sauce on top, like the crab dynamite sauce. I love that.
Yep.
I love the macadamia roll. Michio always used to do this like sashimi aji, where he would sashimi the aji and he'd like segment it with little lime segments, and then he'd fry the bones, like he like fry the body and then give you a little ponzu sauce. So Erica still does that, which is really cool. And I'll always let her do like an omakase sushi roll of like a roll that she's feeling. And then depending how hungry I am, I might get like a few pieces of her omakase pieces.
Yep.
But I'm like, I'm a saucy sushi guy.
Right.
You know, like I own Sushi Noz, and like if I'm going for omakase, it's only the super traditional. But unless I'm going to do the full blowout experience, like I love neighborhood sushi, little eel sauce, little spicy mayo, some crunchy. Like I'm just like
people
the rest
won't judge.
of you.
People won't judge you for being too saucy there.
No, I tell people, I'm like look, like unless you're gonna give me, I don't want undressed cheap fish.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's nasty.
Right.
Like if you're gonna pay $10 for a roll, like be real with yourself.
Right.
You know, like there's a reason why you're paying $10. Right. So if you got to put a little something to make it taste a little bit less funky and more exciting and more textures and a little more MSG, which we're all big fans of.
Why not?
You know, like, so yeah, Sushi Erica.
What do you got for number 3?
Oof, I really wanted to come up with a really cool one for this one, but
we won't judge. You can name as many as you want.
That's I'll name a couple, but I think Garcia's.
Oh, Garcia's Seafood.
Yeah, Garcia's. I used to love the Casablanca Fish Market, which is no longer there. I learned the hard way.
Yep.
Bring that back, please.
Roman, you got to bring it back.
Come on, that's too easy. I used to buy fish for Fooq's there.
Right.
I'll never forget one time I brought fish back from Casablanca's and I had it in like a plastic bag wrapped, and I must have had like 20 pounds of snapper, and I had it like in the front seat, underneath the front seat of the car, and by the time I got to Fooq's, I guess like the whole bag had spilt into the car.
Yep.
My car smelled like fish juice until it was sold. The next guy has got a fishy car still.
Oh man.
But Garcia's, obviously they're not partners anymore, but Garcia's, to go grab a bite on the porch there. Yep. I love stone crabs. I think that like of the restaurants, he serves the freshest, bestest.
Yep.
Also like best quality to price ratio in my opinion. I love to get the snapper. Big shout out though, if you are ever gonna buy stone crabs and it's not at a restaurant, George's number one.
Yeah, Roger, my man, Roger,
my boy Roger. Like honestly, love
this
guy.
I miss my ceviche. Like,
I do too.
That was my dude. The original ones,
burrito,
dude, that was my jam, bro.
Find me a better dish in Miami at the time.
The tuna and the octopus burritos, both of them that was my quinoa, man. It was great.
It was incredible with quinoa.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the white sauce.
Obviously, of course.
The white sauce.
I'd make him put extra with the spicy chips.
Extra. Yep. We love Roger. Definitely gonna serve his claws on the menu at Fooq's.
Oh wow.
I think that like I love Joe's Stone Crab as an experience. It's unbelievable. Number one restaurant, like probably number one restaurant experience in Miami.
Right.
But like the claws don't compare.
Wow.
George's are just,
that's a statement right there.
You could just taste that's like
the difference.
It's not their fault.
Right.
Joe's is going through 5,000 claws a day.
Right.
Like at some point, like I don't care what they say, it's got to be frozen or something's got to happen. I do know that like Joe's has that old school hospitality where like if you know them and you go like you get the better claws type of thing. Like I truly believe that's a thing.
They're not going to get their VIPs cheap.
Like if you're walking off the street,
right,
you're not getting the same experience as if you're a VIP.
Right.
Which some people would say, oh, how could you do that? But like, you know what? Like
it's a machine, but it's also become a machine, right?
That place has been doing it for 100
grossing restaurant in the United
years,
States.
It's like they know better.
Right.
Like we were at Smith and Walensky's last night, and like I go to the guy, it's Sunday night, sunset, peak time. I see a bunch of people lined up outside. Like I don't think I've done what I did in maybe 10 years.
Right.
But like I know the maitre d'-ish because like I go there, walk my dog, and Liza and I love to go there. Like I just slipped the guy $40.
Right. Old school, bro.
It was five people, and he's like, it's gonna be an hour and a half.
Right.
If somebody tells you it's gonna be an hour and a half, they're just asking you
100%.
Give them some cash.
So guys, that's the tip.
Remember
that.
And like bless it. Like that guy works his ass off. He's been the maitre d' there for God knows how long. And it ain't easy, right? Like he's gotta, we all gotta eat.
Right.
It's the name of my restaurant company, and I'm very happy to support the little guy.
Absolutely.
While supporting the bigger picture, and like I'm not stupid. Like I know that my staff takes tips in some of the restaurants.
Yep.
Like do I want it to be blatant and done, in an obnoxious way? No, but I also make most of my restaurant available to the public, like you can reserve Fifi on Open Table, pretty quickly.
Yep.
Like obviously it's 3 weeks, but like 3 weeks, like every day a table is becoming available for 3 weeks out. Right. So like you have a shot, which is I think something very important. Like I think Dorsia also is great. It gives people an opportunity to get
shout out to Dorsia. We love the Dorsia guys.
Shout out to Dorsia. Yep. My cousin Josh Stern.
Josh, my man Josh.
Love you,
Josh.
Cuz. They're awesome.
I didn't realize you were cousins with Josh.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Small world. But we, we're all for like I'm an inclusive kind of guy.
Yep.
Like if a place exclusivity is cool, but like it's like for me, like we're in the business of sharing this experience with everyone, and like, does that mean that everybody is gonna want to come to my place? No, but like if you want to come to my place, I want you to come to my place. Like if you don't want to come to my place, fine.
But again, what I'll end the segment on this. That what I've always admired about you is that you are all about community, and like 100%. You really are. Like people in the community love you. Like it's because you've never, with all the concept and with all the success and everything, you're still the same guy.
Thank you.
And listen, I wish you all the best, man. I can't wait for Fooq's, man. I am dying to try it.
Thank you.
Wishing you all the best, brother. Dude, thank you for dropping fucking serious knowledge today, man.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure, my man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. It was a pleasure, bro.